this. Andrew, good to sit down here with you, talking to you guys about the conversation that I think started with you being on Joe Rogan when you said, hey, I'm offering $300,000. And for the audience watching this, you have to know when you see this final product, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind closed doors. There was still communication till midnight, even some of the stuff this morning. It's like you're trying to sell a company. It's the last 24 hours that the deal doesn't work out. But kudos to the both of you guys that you made it work. The topic of discussion today, how this got prompted is, Andrew, you said there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson shot and killed Charlie Kirk. And Candace, your position was he's a patsy. Tyler Robinson is a patsy. So, of course, we'll talk about a lot of different things, but that's kind of how the whole thing got started. For the audience watching, I think this is truly for three different people. Number one is anybody out there that loves Charlie, respects Charlie, his legacy, what he did. We have a lot of love and admiration for what he did. He changed the lives of many people. Young men, young women. You worked with him for many years. You guys were friends. You've said a lot of good things about Charlie, respectful towards him. You guys may have disagreed on something, but you got a lot of respect for him.
The
second audience is the folks out there, you, that's watching this. And so for you, you've been wanting something like this to take place. And kudos for Andrew for coming out and saying, hey, I want to have this conversation. And for Candace to accept it.
Thank you for the tier 3 sub. I gotta get you something special as well.
You have the ability to say, I agree, I disagree, comment to all the stuff that you're doing online. And if you want to see more of these things,
I'm going to make
any of the 3 channels, subscribe to them. The Candace Show.
Don't you worry.
The Crucible. I'm sure some of the people from Crucible are watching as well. And the PBD podcast. The more you subscribe to this, the more we're able to deliver these types of conversations to you. And last but not least, it's about the two of you. My goal is to speak as little as possible. 99% of the time, it'll be you guys speaking, and the audience will be able to see it. If I jump in, just so everybody knows on the back end, both have agreed. In the back, there's 3 people representing Andrew and 3 people representing Candace to do fact checking. So at any point, if somebody makes a claim, the other can say, can we fact check this? I can jump in and say, fact check this. Even the folks in the back can say, fact check this. So it is a very fair conversation that we're having here. And so with that being said, kudos to Michael Knowles. Your name was mentioned a lot. You missed out right now. The last 10 minutes, we talked about you. There's a lot of love and respect here mutually from both parties, all 3 of them here. And then, of course, the great Joe Rogan that started this conversation. And he also volunteered, but it ended up being this format that we have here today. So with that being said, Andrew, your claim is overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. Opening statements, opening comments.
Sure. And what I mean by overwhelming is I just find it very convincing. I think that's what most people mean when they say overwhelming evidence. So I have a brief opening statement. On September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk was murdered. Many of you already know a lot about the events which occurred after Kirk's death. You remember the ghoulish laughter, celebrations, and madness we saw from leftists all over.
Apologies for a second. Hold on. Pookie Shadowfang, thank you for the Engineering 891. Thank you so much for the 5 tier 1 subs over on Twitch. Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Over from TikTok invasions, debates, posts on social media, destruction of memorials, and things like this. Within weeks of Kirk's death, a cottage industry began to form, peddling various alternative theories on how he died. What special interest may have killed him, what nations were involved, and was our own government one of them? Because this was the first nationwide traumatic event in Gen Z's lifetime, the demand for answers was severe and palpable.
Dom Jericho,
the leading theory from the conspiracy verse is that Israel worked with the United States government to murder Charlie Kirk. Within a day or two of Kirk's death, Ian Carroll claimed that Israel killed Charlie Kirk, and the conspiracy caught on like wildfire. This theory was built on one misleading piece of evidence. That in his final days, on or around September 8th, Charlie sent a text message reading, Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. This was sent in the context of a platforming dispute regarding Tucker Carlson. From this scintilla of misleading information, it was speculated that Israel killed Charlie Kirk because he would have successfully opposed the Iranian war. Now, that's a fun theory, and who doesn't like a good, fun conspiracy theory? I like them. But there is no evidence that Israel actually killed Charlie Kirk. And if Candace has some, I'd like her to actually show it to me. I'm open to suggestions, but to date, there hasn't been any. There is, however, tons of evidence that a leftist killed Charlie Kirk, just as Charlie feared they would. I believe Charlie Kirk, and I have the receipts. No, I didn't have a dream where he came to me and told me that the left killed him. No, he didn't come to me a dream and say, Candace Owens betrayed him. That never happened. In fact, I don't need dreams of any kind because I hold in my possession never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to his security team on September 9th, 2025. I'm going to share the message with you today, which is the first time this information's ever been publicly revealed. On September 9th, Charlie's security team wrote to him, yes, law enforcement has been fully supportive and agreed to a security plan and posture. Tomorrow's event will be covered by both my team and the campus PD. If additional support is required, patrol units will be available. I have 11 on site. Charlie responded with this, okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. That was a message sent September 9th. Whatever could he have meant by that? Well, I think he meant exactly what he said, that he was worried the left was going to try to kill him. Now, we'll discuss this more later on in the debate, and maybe I have more never-before-seen evidence that exposes just how wrong and, in my opinion, idiotic many of these conspiracy theories have been. But that's what happens when you rely on what's called the evidence of the gaps. In other words, they don't have evidence, they seem to just make up evidence. And what did they make up? Well, in my opinion, kind of whatever lined the pockets. And I think it's ghoulish to profit off of the death of a good man. But we came here today to debate, and so let's get to it. The debate topic today is 1, my belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, and 2, Candace's belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson was a patsy and didn't kill Charlie Kirk. In sum, the audience is going to decide who has more evidence supporting their theory. My theory is that the state is correct that Tyler Robinson is the killer, at least based on evidence so far, and Candace's theory that Tyler Robinson is not the killer and he's a patsy set up by the feds. To be clear, this is not a question of reasonable doubt. If it was reasonable doubt, and that's all it was, and that's all Candace was proffering, I wouldn't even be here having the debate with her. It's fair to have doubts, as the trial has yet to occur, and the state hasn't even begun to try to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, but Candace makes a more forceful claim. She claims that there's more evidence that Tyler is not guilty of murder and was set up as a patsy than there is for the state's case, and I just think that that's absurd. And she will not be able to demonstrate that in any way. In fact, she has almost no real evidence at all of her theory, whereas my theory is supported by compelling witness testimony, physical evidence, multiple confessions, all of which are independently compelling, but which are even more convincing as each piece of evidence corroborates the others. You'll notice the term overwhelming was included in both theories. This is because Candace demanded I defend my use of that term, which I think is fair, in describing the evidence against Tyler Robinson. She, on the other hand, only wanted to defend her theory as merely viable. That is, until I showed her clips in which she said she believed the evidence of her theory, that Tyler Robinson's a patsy, was supported by overwhelming evidence. Only then did she agree to defend that position. Regardless, we're both defending the claim that there's overwhelming evidence on our side, so it's worth defining that term. When I say the evidence against Robinson's overwhelming, all I'm saying is that I mean that as of right now, I find it very convincing. I see almost no evidence at all, only speculation on verified claims and suggestions of things that could merely be hypothetically possible. Dreams, vibes, feelings, things like this. Almost done, by the way. I have no problem defending the state's case and welcome Candace bringing up any challenges she would like, but if I'm honest, the reason I was willing to pay the $300,000 for this debate was to finally have a chance for someone to demand Candace be held accountable for the unbelievable theories and claims she's been making. Candace's investigation is indistinguishable from a leftist operation. She couldn't be doing more damage to the right if she were trying. She uses her considerable platform to relentlessly attack one of the most influential conservative outreach organizations for young people, and she's making a mockery of the online right-wing commentary class. She's harming Republicans in an election year by dividing them. She's attacking the very organization Charlie spent his life building, and she's attacking the people he loved, including his wife. And it cost me $300,000, but today I hope that she finally answers for some of that.
Thank you, Andrew.
I'm going to be real. That was a hell of an opening statement, especially bringing up the information that nobody had seen. I love that so much.
Candace?
Did you get it out of your system?
I did.
Okay, great. Well, I'm not going to waste time with the preamble because I think I just want to get to the substance of the debate, and we'll just speak to the audience. I have obviously had an audience since we've been covering this case. People know that there was a personal friendship between me and Charlie, and
Nobody
diminishing the pursuit of something that makes sense regarding what happened on September 10th by throwing it to this is just people who are conspiracy theorists. These are people who are just trying to generate clicks. I don't think that people should be satisfied by that. I want people to remember that it's important to think. We've been lied to by the government a great many times over, just the last couple of years, if you just think of the things that we've learned about our government. And I do want to say this. What's been the most disturbing element, I think, for everyone is that not only does the narrative not make any sense, which I'm going to demonstrate, I don't need to waste time with the preamble going through the points or trying to insult you or pretending that I've been running a podcast saying it's just dreams and vibes like I'm Miss Cleo. And that's the reason why it's taking so many influencers. It looks like $1 billion industry of influencers to dispute everything Candace says. It's not because I'm on my platform saying I had a dream last night. I don't think that I think that diminishes you as an argument. Obviously, we have presented a lot of evidence. You just presented a text message and said this is evidence. Well, that's how this entire thing began. You're talking about how Israel got into the conversation. It was because immediately after Charlie died, one of the first things we saw was this push to make us all think and remember how much he loved Israel. It's because the prime minister of Israel, who's fighting like a 27-front war, felt that he needed to come do a little mini tour and to be strangely to state that I did not kill Charlie Kirk when nobody was having that thought that I can remember. Nobody was going, I wonder if Bibi Netanyahu killed Charlie Kirk. And then we had a round of influencers who lied and said Charlie was not changing on Israel, that he wasn't having any disagreements regarding that topic, that the day he died, he just loved Israel so much. And I demonstrated via a text message, which you just mentioned, and you're now contextualizing and pretending it was just about Tucker Carlson, which is not true. It was a part of a broader shift that Charlie was having over the last, I would say, actually on your show, it began since October 7th, which is when I began asking myself more questions about Israel as well. And so, yeah, when all of these things happen in the immediate aftermath, and then I drop a text message after everyone is denying that, Tucker Carlson then comes out and confirms the conversations that he had with Charlie. Megyn Kelly then comes out and confirms the private conversations that she had with Charlie. People then begin to ask a reasonable question, which is, why are we lying about this? If they were forthcoming with that and they had said, hey, yeah, Charlie was starting to ask questions. I think after October 7th, it's reasonable that people are starting to re-examine our relationship with Israel. We wouldn't be here today. But it has been lie after lie after lie, debunk after debunk after debunk. Yes, I did share that I had a dream that Charlie was betrayed. It's not a dream anymore. It's a reality. I look at what the organization has become, the people that they are partnering with, the lies that they are telling, the extraordinary people that they're sending out to say that I hadn't speak to Charlie since 2018, and it begins to look like a conspiracy. And just as a historical fact, that entire term was created by the CIA to gaslight people after the assassination of JFK.
Okay, so just to be clear, so far we have Israel did it, I've debunked everything, and now we're getting to CIA statements. Holy shit.
So it's not exactly one that makes me nervous. Like calling somebody a conspiracy theorist is essentially saying that they demand further answers and they're not accepting the Fed slop. So I'm grateful that you came today. I don't need to, like I said, take cheap shots and discuss your manner of debate or your strategy. And I'm also grateful that you shared that you had that text message today, because everybody watching knows that I have been demanding not a debate, just a open conversation with Turning Point USA. They should be here. It shouldn't be you in that chair. It should be the person that took Charlie's place, maybe Erica Kirk, maybe Andrew Colbert, who's a spokesperson. And rather than doing that, they send us another influencer. So let's see how it goes.
I will remind everyone that months ago, Turning Point offered to have her there to debate this in person. And she said she was scared to travel. And then she went on vacation after vacation after vacation overseas. She went to Russia. She went to Spain. She went all over the place. Fucking Turning Point offered to debate her.
Just out of curiosity, are you between 0 to 100? What is the likelihood that you think Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk and killed him?
Based on the evidence right now, I don't know. I'd say 75, 85%.
Candace?
0%.
0%.
I'm at 0.
Wow.
With what we've seen in terms of the evidence, I'm at 0%.
So not only, that maybe somebody was behind him as a patsy influencing him. You're not even saying that he didn't even shoot Charlie Kirk.
Right.
And kill him.
If you said, was he involved that day? As
Right.
I have consistently said on my platform, I would say yes, he was. I don't know what role he played, but as the shooter, 0%.
Do you have any evidence for it?
For what? My percentage?
The fact that he didn't shoot and kill Charlie Kirk.
Yes, which I'm hoping we're going to get to all of the evidence that he feels that he has. I mean, I'm not even convinced that Charlie was shot from the rooftop on Losi that day.
And for the person saying she wanted to do the debate from home, they wanted her in person, they backed out. They didn't. Candace Owens said, I will debate Turning Point about this anywhere, anytime, any place. And they said, cool, just come to our studio.
Based on the evidence that has been,
Do you think he was shot?
I do not think that Charlie was shot from a 30-06 from
Yeah,
Losi.
but just shot at all.
I don't know. I think that
She
a
has
projectile
nothing.
hit Charlie, and I'm open to other people's presentations, but I have
She can't give up on the exploding mic thing. She still has to rock with the exploding mic thing.
not seen any compelling evidence that Charlie was shot by a 30-06.
Can we see maybe if we're going to have an olive branch to each other, if maybe we can establish what we consider the facts of the case to be first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you're not sure if he was actually shot. You're open to alternative theories. To that.
He was definitely hit with a projectile of some description. If we're talking about was he shot from a gun, a 30-06, I would say definitively no.
Okay.
It defies common sense to think that he had a Superman neck, and even if he did have a Superman neck, which has been demonstrated, I think actually recently.
Just a quick reminder, guys. We know not only do we have examples in history of people being shot in the neck with a 30-06 from even closer and it not going through, we have a famous example. Martin Luther King Jr. was shot in the neck with a 30-06 from half the distance that Tyler shot Charlie from, and it stayed in his body. So we have not only have examples, we have famous examples.
YouTuber actually set up Spalhala steel cages and shot it, and it went through. So under no circumstance will I.
So at least not a 30-06.
Definitively not. A
Okay,
30-06
but you
from
are
Losi,
open-
150 feet. No,
But you're not necessarily closing off the avenue that he could have been shot at all.
with maybe a smaller.
Smaller caliber. Okay. And then there's some things that I'm going to make concessions on that I do think we need more answers on, and I'm fine with that. And we can get to those things as well. The other thing is in the timeline, one of the things that we dispute, I think, on the timeline is that you think that Robinson drove hours away to a steakhouse in
Yes.
the timeline. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the compelling evidence that you think you have there?
I spoke to the owner of the restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
and have seen the receipt. I know the conversation that I had, and I think it's enough that it will be presented. Obviously, if this goes to trial, but yes, I do believe that he was in Panguitch, which is near his grandparents' home.
Did he give you an unedited copy of that receipt?
I have seen an unedited copy of that receipt. It was not given to me from the owner. But I want to, before we get into like all the timeline stuff, I want to address what you think is evidence so we can keep this on par with what your claim is. Since
Well, I think that that's a piece of evidence that's in dispute, and that's why I'm.
yeah, but
Because if
we're
not
trying to get
establishing
to
the
whether there's
timeline-
overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson did this.
Why doesn't Andrew right now just say, hey, show that receipt to Patrick Bet David? Like, that's what you do right here. You go, cool, you have a receipt. You have an unedited copy, because the copy we've all seen is, it's all blacked out on the name. So if she has that copy, I would say, show that. You don't have to show, I would tell her, you don't have to show it to me. Show it to Patrick Bet David. Show it right now.
Yeah,
So
if you
whether
want to
then
use
starting
the
with-
first, if
with-
you want to use the first part of that for the internal critique,
Yeah,
for you,
we should
that's
go
fine.
over the actual
Okay,
evidence that
so-
we feel.
The first reason that I think it's compelling evidence is that Tyler Robinson's rifle was found near the crime scene. So I would consider that to be very good evidence. And also the fact of the matter is that I dispute this claim that a 30-06 could not have
I'm
made
so
this
mad
wound.
that he's not
I think
asking
that
for
that's
this receipt
absurd.
right now.
150 grain Remington core lock absolutely could shatter when it hits the neck of any human being. When you say that there's some steel neck and it's a smaller caliber, you have to make a counter explanation. Why wouldn't a smaller caliber also go through bone?
It could. I didn't say it can't.
Right, exactly. So if that's the case, then ammunition is going to be the critical key here. And if we have frangible ammunition, which we do in this case, a flex tip round, well, I'm sorry, not a flex tip, a soft point round from a 150 grain Remington core lock, that's just a small jacket that goes around the actual lead piece. This thing could have split apart in air for all we know, but definitely upon impact. And we have the medical examiner who confirms this in a summary. And my team can bring that up, the summarization, which means he would have to be a part of some kind of conspiracy as well.
Okay. So just to start with your point about saying that the gun was found near him, near Losey Center, or I guess off in the woods. That gun, did you watch the testimony? Did you watch the preliminary hearing?
Yeah, we covered it live. Yeah.
Okay, so forgetting what the summary of the medical report was, did you watch the testimony that was given by the Caitlin Oliver, the ATF woman, Samantha Carner, any of those people who went into the science of
Yes, I recall. You're talking about
the bullet analysis?
Yeah, when they went into the DNA.
Okay, so that's kind of the most relevant part.
Okay.
I'm not denying, I've never denied on my platform or anywhere else that a gun.
Did she really just say, I don't care about the report, the actual medical report that was filed. I cared about how the people talked about it in court? Wow.
Gun owned by Tyler Robinson was found near the crime scene, right? That doesn't remove, if you think somebody set up as a patsy, you could take a gun out of this room right now and you could walk out and plant it in the woods near a crime scene.
I agree.
That's not convincing evidence to me.
I concur.
So now they planted the gun. Now they planted it. Cool. We're getting deeper into I got to go get some tin foil, guys.
I concur with the fact that that's a possibility.
So you, I think, have said on a platform that you were a gunsmith.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And for how many years?
Many, many years.
For many years.
Mm-hmm.
You also said that you were an Army sniper.
I wasn't a sniper in the Army.
Okay.
And I never said that.
Sorry, your wife tweeted that you were an Army sniper.
And now she's going into personal attacks to try to attack his credibility. God, this is not going well for her.
Yeah, I don't know. Like 15 years ago, she said something.
Does it change 15 years later?
She said that it was colloquial. So
Army sniper is a colloquial term?
Yeah, I was never an Army sniper.
Okay. What did you do in the Army? Did you teach this? She then I corrected it and said you taught rifles in the Army?
No, I didn't teach rifle. No, I taught rifles as a private citizen.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I was an NRA instructor for many, many, many years alongside my gun shop.
As with your expertise, when she gave testimony on the stand, Samantha Carner, that there was dust and there was debris that was found in the gun barrel.
Yep.
And then when we had the person who, and this was, I believe, Caitlin Oliver, who explained painfully about the DNA, the prints.
Well, let's start with a point at a time.
I'm not done. You said something, so I'm going to finish my thought, right?
You don't want to do a point in time?
No, well, sure. If you want to respond to, but I want you to respond to 2 points. I want you to start with 2 points.
Okay.
Dust and debris in the gun barrel.
Yeah.
Secondly, the fact that there were 5 sets of prints, 5+ actually by the end of the testimony, 5 sets of prints for which we already had the woman who worked for the FBI forensics testify that above 2 prints, if you're taking a sample, it's no longer a science.
She is going to be very upset with how easy this is going to be to debunk. Like, really, because I know what she's saying. She's talking about, gifts are suspended and I'm restricted. Okay. Can't get gifts on TikTok anymore. But she's going to be very upset with how easily debunked this is.
Right. She testified that when they took the sample of what was on the trigger, they saw 5+ prints. And among those 5+ prints, Tyler Robinson's was the most degraded. So I would like you to explain how Tyler Robinson's prints could be the most degraded when she said, actually, you could have DNA on something that you've touched. You could have DNA on something that you've never touched. And to get DNA degradation, they've looked at pieces, items 20, 40 years on that don't have degradation. Yet Tyler Robinson's prints, amongst 5+ other prints, were the most degraded on that weapon.
Yeah. So let's get into all 3 of the claims. First, with debris. When it comes to debris, firing rifle doesn't always blow the debris out of the barrel.
Okay. You think there could be debris I'm sorry, debris and dust.
Yeah.
He just fired the weapon.
Sure.
Okay.
Not only that,
Is she trying to argue that because you fired a weapon, there can't be dust and debris in the weapon? Holy shit. Wow.
left it in a forest. Now, I don't know if you agree with me, but if you leave a rifle in a wooded area, it's also possible that debris could get in that way. But I'm not even sure that that's what the case is. I think it's far more likely that he fired the shot, it just didn't blow all the debris out, and it often doesn't. You'll find this if you take Grandpappy's dirty rifle and it's all dusty inside the bore and you go fire it, you'll often look down the bore and there's still dust.
Okay.
Happens all the time.
Okay. And
just to be clear, guys, this is why we have to, in the military, this is why we have to clean our weapon after we use it. Wouldn't it be nice if every time you fired a rifle, it cleaned the barrel? That's not how it works. The barrel is not clean because you fired the gun.
the prints?
Yeah, so the prints, we don't know all of the details on just yet.
We do. It was excruciatingly long testimony on the prints.
We don't, because they haven't gone to trial, so we don't know on the print front. But Tyler Robinson's DNA was on there. You made the claim that Lance Twiggs' DNA was on there, and it was not.
Well, when she gave the testimony, no, hold on. First, let's go to your first point, because that's wrong. We can get a fact check on that. What do you mean we don't know until it goes to trial about the degraded prints? She testified, and this is the person who took the prints.
Yes, but the problem is that inside of this particular testimony, you agree with me that there's going to be much more of the DNA analysis during the trial, right?
But you also would agree that her fact is not going to change, that among the prints, his was the most degraded. So I'm asking you to address that. How could that be possible?
Let's give it, let's just grant this for a second as a possibility that his fingerprints were degraded.
It's not a possibility. It's a fact. The person who took it.
I'm just granting it for the sake of argument.
You should grant it because it's a fact that she presented.
So now it's granted. So what?
What do you mean? So what?
Yeah. So what? What does that prove?
It proves that if his prints were the most degraded amongst 5 of them, you're going to have to explain how that's possible if he's the one that recently fired the weapon.
It's very easy. It's very easy. Prints are dependent upon what's on your hands, about how long the print stays there, about how degraded it gets. Like it just means that his prints were not very clean on there. That's it. See, in her mind, she hears degraded and she thinks, oh, that means he hadn't touched the rifle in a long time. No, that just means his prints were hard to read on there. Tom, it's you sweat. It's if you have grease on your hand or any of that. Like, that's all it is. And again, if he tried to wipe the prints from where he was, they would degrade his prints. I imagine he was probably the first person ever to fire that rifle that tried to wipe his prints off.
Yeah, so wait a second. You're saying that it's an impossibility that if his fingerprints are the most degraded,
I'm telling you to explain it. You're the gunsmith.
Well,
so
wait a
explain
second.
it.
How would a gunsmith give an analysis on fingerprints or DNA? Do you think that I work in a DNA laboratory
So
with
your
fingerprints?
answer is, I don't know. You can just say you don't know.
That is the funniest thing. She's like, well, you're a gunsmith. And he's like, yeah, we're talking about fingerprints, jackass.
But
you
I
don't
did.
have to.
But I did.
No, you said, so what? So
Yeah,
say,
so-
I don't know. I
but what
actually
would
don't
that-
have an
what
explanation
would that
for that,
prove,
Candace.
though, is my question.
Well, I think that what it would prove is that it is a more viable theory that people who had stronger prints on the gun may have used it more recently.
Did they say who else?
Oh my God, that's actually what she thinks. She thinks that prints are just degraded by the fact that somebody was the last one to touch it. Oh my God, she actually said that out loud. Oh my God, I can't believe she just said this out loud.
Else had fingerprints on the gun?
They named Matt Robinson explicitly.
Okay.
And this was a part of the testimony where she was speaking about how they got samples of elimination samples from the home of Amber Robinson, Matt Robinson, and Lance Twiggs. Those were the 3 names they named.
So are you saying that Twiggs'
Would you like me to
fingerprints-
finish my statement?
I just want to make sure I'm clarifying.
She's pretending
I'm trying
like she's
to
not
finish the
interrupting
answer,
him.
but it can't be clarified until the answer comes out of my mouth.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
this was a portion of her testimony where she was explaining how they got elimination samples from the home. And she named Matt Robinson, Amber Robinson, and Lance Twiggs as the elimination samples that she was using. And so she explicitly said, some of them, so we can assume 2 out of the 3, were their prints were found on the gun. She explicitly named Matt Robinson. as someone who had prints on the gun, and then said there were 5 people that they had taken that sample from. And again, what's also relevant here is the earlier testimony, which came from the FBI forensics analyst, I believe it was on day 2, where she said that when you're using those mixtures and those samples and you get up to 5+, it's really hard to make any sort of a determination. So both of those things are relevant. If you can't explain why his prints are the most degraded and you're saying he is the shooter, it's not really a so what.
I can explain it. Of the 5 people that have touched that rifle in the last 10 years, he is the first person who tried to wipe his prints off. There, it's explained. Come on, Andrew, do better.
It's an open-ended question that people have a right to pursue. It's not a conspiracy. It's actually proof of my claim that there is evidence that he was set up as a patsy.
That wouldn't prove anything about him being a patsy.
It said it's evidence to support the claim that he could have been set up as a patsy.
So this is why I said earlier, so what? Because even if it's the case, this doesn't have an explanation for it yet. That doesn't actually give you any evidence in your corner for Tyler Robinson being a patsy.
Okay,
hang on. I didn't cut you off, right? You would need to actually explain how this would demonstrate Tyler Robinson. This is tied into Robinson being a patsy.
Mm-hmm.
Are you claiming that these fingerprints were Lance Twiggs or that he had any DNA there?
I'm saying that it could be Matt Robinson. It could be Amber Robinson. That sort of information is going to come out during the trial.
How would that tie into the idea that he's a patsy?
Yes,
though?
because if his is the most degraded prints and the information that I shared on my platform is true, that this gun was given to Tyler Robinson as an heirloom. I had conversation with members of the Robinson family, Twiggs family, both of them. You know, like I said, we're not just dreaming. And if we're having those conversations and they told me that that gun was only given to Tyler Robinson because it was a family heirloom. Okay, so it was his grandfather's gun or great-grandfather's gun. Okay. I don't remember the difference. I don't remember which one it was. And so he got it because he's the firstborn. So, but he's not much of a shooter, is what I was told. And so he has this because he inherited it, essentially. So if I get something from my grandpa and I put it up on the shelf and I own this, you could see that could be.
How do we get to the patsy part?
You don't let me ever get to the end of the sentence. So how could we get to the patsy part
Okay,
if I can't get to the end of the sentence?
I'll wait patiently till we get to
so
the patsy
that could be a
part.
reasonable explanation as to why there was dust in the barrel, because he doesn't often shoot this weapon and he is indeed a fisher. And it could also be a reasonable explanation for why we have Matt Robinson's prints on this. Obviously, Lance Twiggs, even if he has prints on things, they live together. That doesn't really mean anything. But that could demonstrate that somebody took his weapon and put it somewhere. His prints are the most degraded. Somebody else's prints, there's more presence of somebody else's prints, and that could demonstrate that somebody is taking items from his house and putting it into various places.
But it also could demonstrate nothing. So the problem that you have here is that this is pure conjecture.
No,
this is not evidence that Tyler Robinson is a patsy. It's only evidence that you have conjectured up that, if it's the case that these are the more degraded prints, then therefore that means must be patsy because dad's fingerprints on gun.
I didn't say must be.
I need to point out that her entire talk that he said, how does that make him a patsy? And she said, I'm going to get to that. And I'm sorry, but am I the only one who noticed that she never got to that? She's like, well, I need to get to where he was a patsy. And she never got there.
Describe how this actually links in to Robinson being a patsy.
Okay, I just described that for you, so I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you, so I'm going to move on from that. But to just go back to your point about this is not evidence, you can't make that claim because the entire basis for why you think that there's evidence for Tyler Robinson being the person that took the shot is based off of a hearing under Utah 1102 rules, meaning that they are doing the
Andrew does not get to think that he's the shooter based upon all the evidence in the hearing, but she gets to think that he's a patsy and wasn't the shooter based on nothing. That's cool.
Exact same thing that I am doing. This is the state. You said you're here to represent the state. Well, did you watch the preliminary hearing?
I didn't say I was here to represent the state.
The state's position you think is strong and convincing.
What I'm here to do is represent my own opinion.
You said in your opening statement,
based on the evidence presented so far by the state
has presented evidence under Utah's 1102 rule.
But this doesn't demonstrate any patsy behavior.
That's very important because that rule is hearsay. So you can't say at the same time, Candace, you're not allowed to. And what that means under the Utah rule, which I'm sure you know, because I'm sure you watched the prelim.
She's comparing her right to have an opinion about the case. She's comparing that to the DA presenting evidence about the case. That's literally the comparison she's just made.
Preliminary hearing, and yourself understand what that means, is that the entire hearing was hearsay. It means none of that information that was presented is going to be allowed. The majority of it, the overwhelming majority of it, is not going to be allowed at the trial. They're allowed to present when it's just a.
She honestly thinks that the evidence she literally just said, well, that means that the evidence they presented at the preliminary hearing is not going to be allowed to be presented at the trial. No, it absolutely is. If it was not objected to in the preliminary hearing and thrown out, it will absolutely be allowed in at the trial.
Probative hearing.
I don't think all the evidence that was put in was hearsay.
Okay, you didn't watch this case.
But not only that, no.
This is a huge point. This
I
is,
want to.
this is crazy that you don't know this.
We can call for a fact check if
yes,
all the evidence
we need
was
more than a
put
fact
in.
check. This was every single day. Utah Rule 1102.
They want to go there. So
she honestly believes that everything that was presented at the preliminary hearing was hearsay. Do you know how fucking like, holy shit, like, imagine thinking that every piece of evidence presented at a trial, at a preliminary hearing, is all hearsay and isn't going to be used at trial. No, Candace, when people present something in a preliminary hearing, if it is not valid, if it's hearsay, if it doesn't hold weight, it will be thrown out because it's not evidence. She honestly believes that everything presented in the preliminary hearing was hearsay. She just said everything presented at the preliminary hearing was hearsay. That is a bold and I will say idiotic claim.
they said there's a medical examiner's explanation of the shooting that's in the back. Rob, if you want to pull it up, and then Candace, if anybody from your team wants to pull something up, no problem.
Again, remember, she said this is hearsay.
If you guys got it, pull it up so we can show it. And in the interim, is that it?
Yeah. So I'll read this.
Just what are we looking at, just so we know?
Yeah, so this says, the bullet, or at least part of it, sequentially perforated the interior left of Mr. Kirk's neck, strap muscles of the left side of the neck. This is a summary, by the way. Left common carotid on the left internal external jugular veins. The bullet also obliterated the left side C27 vertebrae, transacted the cervical spinal cord. Medical examiner observed a significant portion of Kirk's cervical spinal cord was traumatically absent. Mr. Kirk suffered from other severe injuries, including bilateral, apical, and posterior intercostal hemorrhages, pulmonary, apical hemorrhages, multiple disruptions to the thyroid, et cetera, et cetera. So the summary of the examination is that he was shot.
Okay.
That was what they were pulling that up for.
Okay, and I'm not disputing that he could have been hit with a projectile. We're not disputing that, so I don't know why this was brought up as a fact check. Could you bring up 1102 Utah rule? Because this is an unbelievable point that you're making by saying that I am not allowed to infer off of evidence.
You can infer. I'm trying to follow the inference.
But your entire reason, like you asserted that you believe there's overwhelming evidence on the basis of what we saw in the preliminary hearing. The entire preliminary hearing was hearsay.
Yeah, I'm fine with your inferences.
But no, you just literally said I couldn't do that. Yes, I can.
No, I didn't. I'm just saying from your inference, how do we get to Patsy?
This is how you got to Shooter. The Tyler Robinson did it
No,
the same way that you got to Tyler Robinson.
Shooter from that.
Yes, you did. You again, this is something important, so we should pull up a fact check about what the 1102 Utah, and under their constitution, for the sake of a preliminary hearing, they do not have to have hard evidence. They don't have to put people on the trial, swear them in. But no, that's why the entire hearing was basically hearsay. Officer Bagley was saying,
all of it, like I said.
It's basically
the
hearsay.
overwhelming majority.
Again, no dispute.
Outside of the one that you don't want to give. Please don't cut me off.
Though.
Outside of that is what's in dispute. It means that your entire brand of saying you don't have evidence falls apart when the entire preliminary hearing is based off of hearsay. In fact, Lance's testimony before they had about an hour.
No, so where she's fucking up here is she's talking about Utah's rule 1102. 1102 just says you can present hearsay at a preliminary hearing. That's all it's saying. It's saying you can present hearsay. It's not saying that everything that was presented was hearsay. She's simply taking the fact that you can present hearsay at a preliminary hearing and using that to validate that everything that was presented at the hearing was hearsay.
hour debate. Actually, maybe it was more than an hour debate before he sat, and they said, this is not going to be allowed. You wouldn't even be allowed to do this. We'd be able to cross-examine him. The questions that they're asking Lance are all leading. And what did he say? Well, I'm the magistrate under Utah Constitution, 1102. It is my job to allow all of this so we can see if the state has enough here that we can then move to a trial, which will then, they would not allow this stuff. They would say we get to cross-examine Lance. Lance
But
just
you're
can't
arguing
willy-nilly
things I'm not disputing.
But the entire substance of your argument is that people can't infer off of evidence.
No,
That's what you're saying
it's
to
not.
me. When you say, Candace,
Here,
you
I'll
can't
give you
talk
the
about the degraded
argument
prince, which is a
now.
fact.
Yeah, I'm not
and then
saying
infer
that.
off of that
Didn't say that.
Tyler could have been a patsy.
You're just
telling you,
making stuff up. So here's
I'm not
what the
making stuff
position
up.
is.
I'm
I'm
not making
asking
stuff
this.
up.
By the way,
I'm
I have Rule
saying
1102
that
ready
I
if you
thank
wanna
you.
read
Let's
it.
pull that up.
Just
Let's
pull
pull
out
that up.
1102.
I am doing
Get there from the
exactly what the
inference.
state did. I
Okay.
am looking at a piece of evidence, and I am saying.
But you're not showing me how you get there
Can you
from the
describe to the
inference.
audience what Rule
Yes.
1102
So this,
means?
just so everybody who's watching this at home understands what I am saying, even if he doesn't. What Andrew is arguing is that I don't have the right to extrapolate from
Never
a
made that
fact
argument.
like
Just making it up. Just purely making it up. I'm asking based on
Andrew.
based on
Can I
your
show my evidence? You just showed yours. Reliable hearsay.
You'll get a chance.
Reliable hearsay in criminal preliminary examinations. The entire preliminary hearing that you just saw was on the basis of reliable hearsay. And what that means essentially is the people who are making the statements can just say, Patrick told me that.
No, do you guys see this on screen? It says statement of the rule. Reliable hearsay is admissible at preliminary examinations. That doesn't mean that the only thing they presented was here. I swear to God, if Andrew does not address this, I'm going to be so fucking mad at him. It says that hearsay is admissible. It does not mean that everything is hearsay.
He did this on Monday. Patrick's not here, and that is they can allow that into the hearing. That's just because it's just meant to be probative. And so it's the state saying, here's what we have inferred. So you are allowed to take a piece of evidence, and then you are allowed to infer off of that evidence. Okay. Case in point, that's a demonstration that's a demonstration of what I just did. I said the prints were the most degraded off of Tyler Robinson. And from that, what I am inferring is that it's plausible that Tyler Robinson was set up.
That doesn't. That's the point in contention.
That's not a point in contention. That's
the point in contention.
It's not a point in contention. If you're saying it's a point,
She is saying that. Oh my God! Yes, whether or not he was set up is absolutely a point of contention, Candace. That is the point of contention. I cannot believe she is arguing this.
Point in contention.
It's not the point in contention. I'm telling you that was what the entire hearing allowed for. So the evidence that he is describing,
we're asking you
that he is using to argue his case, is all based on inference, not fact.
It's not.
Inference, not fact. So what they are inferring off of the facts.
Okay, this is how ridiculous this is. Yes, at a preliminary hearing, hearsay is permitted. But just because hearsay is permitted, that does not mean that everything that was presented was hearsay. Those are two very, very different things.
So again, we're going to take this, and I'm just going to even grant it because it's irrelevant. I'm asking how you get to the inference that even if you dispute that piece of evidence, that means patsy. I'm looking for the logical chain for how you get to that inference.
What I am telling you is it's the exact same way that when you tweeted, I think that this evidence is overwhelming. When they say that looks like Tyler Robinson's car, he drives a similar car, okay? They are inferring that that's Tyler Robinson.
Can you walk me through the inference that I understand?
It's not a fact. It's not a fact. When you show a blurry image, which you kept citing.
They didn't show a blurry image, Candace. They didn't show a car that looks like Tyler Robinson's car. They showed the car Tyler Robinson was driving with the license plate of Tyler Robinson's car. Like, she's pretending they just showed a car and they were like, oh, that kind of looks like Tyler Robinson's car. No, they showed his car with his license plate with him getting out of it.
That we have images.
I'm talking about your inference that the fingerprints even if they're degraded equals patsy. How do you get that inference?
I didn't say it equals patsy. I think it is enough evidence that it should be explored, which is exactly what this preliminary was in the inverse.
That's not in dispute. What's in dispute is when you said, I'm using this as evidence that he could have been a patsy. I'm asking, how do you get the inference to patsy from that?
Because what I am saying is that it shows that somebody else had more DNA presence on that gun than Tyler Robinson did. So it is plausible, which is all they're doing. They're presenting plausibility based off of the facts, okay? It is plausible that somebody just took his gun and put it there. That's it.
Is there equally...
That's how it works.
And is there equally 100 other plausible explanations?
I think that's the reason why most people are exploring when things don't make sense.
Got it.
So yes, at the beginning of that, this is how the court process works.
So
just so we're clear,
if there's 100 other
state's
plausible
evidence and
explanations, then Candace, why is it that we should go with this idea that it was a patsy?
I'm not saying that we should go with the idea that it was a patsy. I am saying that there is.
Oh, I thought that was the whole defense, your whole claim.
No.
So wait, now she's arguing that we shouldn't go with the idea it was a patsy? That is the basis of her entire argument, is that Tyler Robinson was the patsy. That is the basis of every argument she has made. And now she's arguing, I'm not saying we should go with the idea that he was a patsy. Yes, you should. I'm also still so mad at Andrew Wilson for not pointing out that the rule simply says that hearsay is admissible. It doesn't mean everything in there is hearsay.
My whole claim was that there is more evidence that he is set up as a patsy.
How does that equal evidence of patsy?
I don't know how many times I can say this. Like I'm saying that I am using the exact.
Because he's asking you for evidence. You keep saying there is evidence that he's a patsy, and Andrew's asking you, cool, what is the evidence? You can't just keep saying there's a shitload of evidence and then not be able to give any evidence.
Same mechanism that you are accepting for some reason in the Utah courtroom, right? To say, I'm going to look at the evidence and I'm going to infer an alternative theory. So you just saw the states and you're accepting it. And they have not presented any concrete facts. You listed on your own Twitter that what you found to be convincing was something that looked like his car pulled into the driveway, a blurry image.
No, I didn't.
A standard white guy coming up the steps that could literally be anyone.
This never happened.
Can we get a fact check on that? Can we pull up his tweet where he goes over
I
the
didn't say that's what convinced me.
When you actually didn't say it's what convinced me, but you said this is the evidence that you found to be overwhelming, and you named, I believe, actually 5 things. I think you said it was his car. You said it was.
Well, there's multitudes of things that I find.
You just said you didn't say
evidence.
it, so we're going to get a fact check on that. You did.
Go ahead.
You said the blurry images coming up the steps. Quite literally, when Officer Bagley testified, they talk about when I'm talking about making inference. This is the most I thought was the most absurd testimony I've ever heard. And pardon me, it was actually David Hull. They asked him a question. How did you know the guy?
Guys, this is just your update. We are now 1 hour into this debate, and she has presented 0 evidence of anything. Just want to keep you up to date.
Guy in the maroon shirt was the same as the guy that came up the stairs later that was wearing the American flag black shirt. And he said, they're wearing the same shoes.
Why is that absurd?
That's how you decided these two are the same people. Oh, wow, what a scientific. They're both wearing Converses. Okay, that's an absurd thing to say. That is not evidence that these are the same people if we're both wearing.
They're also wearing the exact same pants, the exact same shirt, the exact same hat, look the exact same. She's taking a tiny piece of his testimony and saying, well, he said they have the same shoes. That wasn't the only thing he said.
Wearing Converses. That was what he said. That's what flew on the stand.
But I still don't understand how that would be absurd. If somebody,
it's an absurd thing.
For instance, if somebody were to change their clothes but keep the same shoes on, wouldn't you utilize the shoes to try to track that person? If
the
they were changing
idea
their
that on a
clothes?
college campus, 2 people wearing this totally different outfits, but both wearing Converses can't happen is such an absurdity that I don't even need to argue that. I'm just going to let people deal. Why is it absurd? Just concede that point. Obviously, it's an absurd thing to say.
I'm not
I know
sure,
these are the same people because they're both wearing Converse.
Yeah, I'm not sure if in context that's what happened. But
it
even
is.
if it is,
you can get a fact check on it.
But even if it is, again,
and it was
if we're utilizing inferences whenever we're dealing with logic.
On realness, just like we said, the text is not hearsay. Again, neither was the medical examiner's report. It's not all hearsay.
When we're dealing with making a logical inference, we're going to take the entire collaboration of evidence and then we're going to make inferences from that. You would do that with any type of logical proposition. Otherwise, you could never have a true or false claim.
But you just told me I couldn't.
So
do
when
that.
that never happened. You're just making stuff up. So anyway, when we're talking about logical inferences, what I'm looking for is the logical inferences that you have that Tyler Robinson's a patsy based on a totality of evidence that you have.
We can keep going through your other evidence, but we should find
Yes.
his tweet where he lists the reasons that he was convinced.
So let's start with the 30-06. I think that's fine.
Your team's looking for. Do you remember how long ago that was?
The tweets of the 5. Did you delete it or no?
No,
Did
I
you
don't
delete
delete
tweets?
tweets.
Okay, cool. I just look for. He said
Unless
it
I
was his
misspell.
car. It was his.
No, you're right. She does continue to cut him off. She continues to cut him off and then admonish him anytime he cuts her off.
Was the car, and it was definitely the staircase photos, and it was when the trial was
Okay,
going
she
on.
has it. Perfect.
She has
If you got, Skylar has it. If you want to pull it up so we can
Fantastic.
see it.
Somebody said, so give me the clear evidence right here. I want you to provide it right here. All I heard from the investigator was, we believe this to be Tyler Robinson. Is belief something you go as a fact? You wrote the car pulling in. That's a totally blurry image.
I just want to be clear. Is belief something you believe in as a fact? You go by as a fact. Candace, you used a fucking dream to validate your theory. Like, so Candace Owens saying, oh my God, you need to have actual facts. Girl, you claim Charlie came to you in a fucking dream. And now you're admonishing people for not going by just the facts.
Robinson getting out of it. You have no idea if that's Tyler Robinson. The fact that he is seen 4 other times on camera, the fact being just a standard white boy with brown hair was seen walking up staircase. The DNA on the roof, we should discuss that. And on the screwdriver that he left behind, it's overwhelming, man.
Yeah, but that's not an exhaustive list.
Well, just so we're clear, you did tweet it.
But it's not an exhaustive.
Yeah,
well,
but just
you
5
said
seconds ago.
So her claim is that because he didn't list every single thing that convinced him of this, then this is the only list he gets to go by. This is mildly idiotic.
You should
You
concede.
said I only said this one thing and said that was overwhelming, actually.
That's exactly what she
That's not
said.
what I said.
It is. You
That
can
is
even
exactly
put your
Did
own
I
what
say
clip.
that?
Can you fact check if that was said or not? I did not hear her say
So the
this.
thing is funny here is like we still aren't getting to any of these inferences. So
Why are you pivoting?
so
But
that-
just say
well,
you were
I'm
wrong.
not. I'm
It's cool
gonna-
to just say I was wrong. I did say it.
I'm not wrong. So back to the tweet aspect here. It was really funny. That's not an exhaustive list of why I find it.
I didn't say it was exhaustive. I just said you said it.
And on top of well, no, you didn't. You said that I only said this one thing and then said based on that it's over. Well, I didn't. You didn't mention that I mentioned the screwdriver, DNA, all of these other things. You never mentioned any of that. So no, you're actually incorrect.
And he's 100% correct. Remember, she said this, you said one thing, and that was the overwhelming evidence. She didn't mention all the other stuff he said in the tweet.
Correct there. But on top of that, moving over to the actual evidence itself.
Are you?
Yes, I'm okay. Anyway, back to
I'm
the
gonna ask
evidence.
if you're
She's going to go with some personal shit now. Here we go.
okay.
Yes,
Actually,
I'm
I'm
fine.
glad you're asserting that you're
But
okay.
back-
I wasn't worried about your health. I'm just
but
saying
back
that
to
I
this.
just said you tweeted this. You said no, I didn't. We got a fact check, and now you're like just gonna gaslight me and pretend that I
There's
said
no gaslighting.
it wasn't exhaustive. I never said that. I just said you did
There's
say this.
Zero gaslighting.
I didn't say you couldn't have said more,
Yeah.
but I would like to address what
I mean,
you
this
said
is
in
your
that tweet.
time. If this is how you want to spend it interrogating my position, you can do it that way.
I'm just addressing what you asserted on your Twitter was like the hard evidence that convinced you was overwhelming. That's literally
That's
your debate
not what
claim.
you said. That's not actually, in fact, what happened in that exchange. I was here for it.
So what's
He's
your
100%
position here?
right.
Yeah, so my position is that based on all of the evidence, which has
Mm-hmm.
been demonstrated, at least all the evidence to my knowledge, that I am actually not seeing anything that's compelling as an alternative theory. I'm not seeing anything which is convincing me of something otherwise than what the state is presenting as evidence. That's my position, if
Okay.
that's what you're asking me.
So just going back to what you did actually tweet, is it fair for me to ask questions about that? That's
Is that the
evidence.
only tweet you're going to ask me about?
Well, we're addressing your claim that the evidence is overwhelming, and this is a tweet where you listed what you felt was overwhelming. I think that's fair,
but not
right? I feel like
sure,
that's fair.
but not exhaustive, just so you know.
And I never said it was
Okay.
exhaustive,
Go
even though
ahead.
you said I did.
Sure, whatever you want.
But yeah, so going back to that, all of that, as you say to me, well, Candace, why are you addressing and making inferences off of the testimony?
No, I never asked you why. You're making inferences. I asked you how, with the inference you made, you got to the conclusion.
Okay, so I would like to know how you got to the conclusion, and I'm just going to throw it right back at you because
Yeah,
for some
that's
reason,
fair.
Yeah, he's going to throw it right back so she's not going to answer the question. Like, because he asked her a very simple question. How did the inferences you made get you to that conclusion? And right now she's going, okay, cool. Instead of answering that, I'm going to ask you that. And then we're never going to get to her answering that question.
You permit yourself to do it, and that's what I'm demonstrating, is that you permit yourself to do it, and then you say, when I do it, it's a conspiracy, right?
No.
How are you able to infer off of...
No, because he's inferring from testimony presented in court, medical examiners' reports, police testimony. You're inferring based off a fucking dream.
blurry staircase images that is Tyler Robinson.
Yeah, so in that particular case, what you do is you take that evidence, you combine it with other evidence. So it's not just that Tyler Robinson is seen in the staircase.
Why are you calling him Tyler Robinson in the staircase? That's what I want to get to.
Yeah, because, I mean, we'll just use this. If you don't agree that that's Tyler Robinson, then you would just have to humor me. I think it is, so I'm using the name.
But why do you think it is? Because you make everybody, you call them conspiracy
theorists. That's literally what I'm trying to explain to you.
Okay.
So if you're asking for my inference why I think it's Tyler Robinson, is because Tyler Robinson said in his text messages, you'll be able to see me on security footage at the campus. Said it in his own messages. On top of that, Twigs, yes, you can pull them up if you want to fact check that. He did say. On
yeah,
top
I would.
of
I'm
that,
sorry. I actually think I really did miss that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't remember him saying you're going to see me in.
Yeah, I'm paraphrasing,
Can
but
we
it was
pull that
close
up?
to
Yeah,
it.
If
I
you
don't-
may
I feel-
have
I
it.
think
if
And
you
by
that's
the
not
way,
pull it up.
Twigs himself said that he
gonna
had
see me
some
on the staircase.
Maybe a tiny bit of doubt, but it sure looked like Tyler Robinson inside of this various surveillance footage that he saw.
So Lance, sorry.
Hang
Go
on.
ahead. You're
Hang on.
right.
So there's
And you're absolutely right. He is being insanely nice about this. It is wild how nice he is being in this debate.
there's multiple reasons why it is that I believe that that's Tyler Robinson, not just because of blurry footage.
Did you have a dream? Just kidding.
No, it's because I combined.
The fact that she makes that joke, Candace, you understand how ridiculous it would, like she said, did you have a dream? So she understands how ridiculous it would be to base your argument on a fucking dream, even though that's what she did.
Multitudes of evidences.
Okay, so let's address those multitude of evidences. The first one we're working on a fact check on, because I do not ever remember him tweeting. That's me in the stair. I mean, or
Well, he didn't tweet
texting.
it.
Texting
Yeah.
that's me in the staircase. I think that I
I didn't say that. I said I literally didn't. What I said is that he texted over, "You'll be able to see me in footage at UVU," and I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said.
Yeah, could we get a fact check on that?
You
The
can find
second
it.
thing you said was Lance's testimony, and actually what Lance says is, I'm not 100%,
I agree.
but in terms
How are we this deep into this and she hasn't had to answer for anything she said? She hasn't had to answer for a single claim she's made. Yet Andrew has to answer for everything he tweeted, everything he said, every comment he's made on this fucking case he has to answer for. She hasn't been made to answer for a single claim she made.
of what he wears, again, pointing out the absurdity, he wears Converses, he wears sneakers. If his boyfriend is not 100%, I'd like to understand why Andrew Wilson is overwhelmed by it. That's what I'm trying to get to.
I'm so
And lastly, I would
unbelievably
like to
disappointed
remind you
in
that
Andrew right
Lance's
now.
statement would not be permitted. This was a huge part of the preliminary hearing, that they were leading. All the questions that were asked of him were leading, so they would be struck down at the actual trial. And also, I would like to remind you that he got use immunity for that. Use immunity.
I understand.
Which means like
That happens, by the way, all the time in these cases.
and I'm wondering why it particularly happened for Lance and this testimony. And I would also like to point out that something that's remarkable about this, again, leaning to my perspective, that Lance has a lot more, which I have said many times, Lance has a lot more involvement than the feds are letting us know. I think more
Nobody
is going to come
disputes
out
that either.
because they interviewed him on September 11th, and then for whatever reason, just ahead of what was supposed to be slated as the preliminary hearing, which was initially supposed to be in May, they bring him back to do this interview, which in my opinion should have never been allowed. And I actually agree with the defense that it's a violation of his constitutional rights not to allow them to have cross-examined him. But I understand Utah 1102, do what you do. It's all hearsay. But to allow it in that way, for him to just be able to also have use immunity, knowing that he's not going to get in trouble. He could literally get up there and lie about anything, and he's not going to get in trouble because
That's not how use immunity works, Candace. That's not how use immunity works. If he gets caught lying on the stand, that's still perjury. You do not get immunity. When you get immunity, you do not get immunity for what you say on the stand. You get immunity for things you might have been involved in to do with the case. They gave him use immunity because they said, hey, we're not going to charge you as an accessory. We're not going to involve you in this case. We're not going to prosecute you. So we want you to be able to speak freely on the stand about what happened without fear of prosecution. But if he lies on the stand, if he commits perjury, that is a new crime that is not covered by the immunity. She's making this up. You don't get to go up on, you don't get immunity, get to go up on the stand and commit perjury.
Use immunity was given to him in April, I believe. April 28th is when they gave that testimony to the defense. I think they shot it in like April 20th of 2026. That is not compelling to me for somebody who has use immunity to give a testimony and to say, I'm not really sure, but definitely like he wears jeans and stuff.
That's not what he said.
He did. Actually, you can get a fact check on that.
Yeah, that's
Skyler,
not,
I think
he
you
said
pulled
much
it up
more
if you
than
want
that.
to. So a couple things we have. We have Rule 801, Tyler's messages, that says it's not hearsay. But first, go to what Candace is asking about.
Yes, use immunity is for your testimony not to be used against you. However, if you commit perjury, you can be charged for lying on the stand. That is a new crime.
Skyler, I think you have it. You just texted me if you want to pull it up. You said you have the text. If we can put that up on the screen. Thank you.
It was me. Look at the pictures from the surveillance footage. It was me. Okay. I literally said to you, it's not an oof. I said I didn't remember this, and I'm happy to have a fact check on that. Okay. I didn't call for the fact check saying you're wrong. I literally said I don't remember that from the time
I'm just saying to you, like, I'm trying to be concise for you.
And then also bring the 801 that you just said. What was the other one?
Yep, the 801. Tyler messages saying it's not hearsay, if you have that as well. There you go.
Wait, what are we saying is not hearsay?
Statements that are not hearsay. A statement that meets the following conditions is not hearsay.
It was hearsay. They said it in the trial.
Hang on.
Okay.
Okay. Is consistent with the declarant's testimony and the declarant denies having made the statement or has forgotten, or is consistent with the declarant's testimony and is offered to rebut the express implied charge that the declarant recently fabricated or acted in recent improper influence or motive in testifying. So then, wouldn't that mean that a bunch of this wasn't hearsay?
So the issue with his
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Would that mean that a bunch of this wasn't hearsay?
So the opposing party, which down the line, like I said, they talked about this for about an hour and a half. And
for the love of God, make her answer that question. For the love of all that is fucking, please make her, Andrew, I swear to God, if Andrew lets her get out without answering this question, doesn't that mean that a lot that happened at the preliminary hearing wasn't hearsay? Please, please, please do not let her get out of answering this question.
They discussed how if Lance was in court and he was giving his first party, giving his testimony as the opposing party, whatever, all of this would be fine. They had an issue with how the questions were being asked and that they were not allowed to cross-examine him. Mm-hmm. So that is why his video testimony would not be accepted in the main trial. And what I said to you is this entire preliminary hearing is under Utah's 1102. So they are allowed to—
No, that's not what you said. It's not that they're allowed to have hearsay. You said the entire preliminary hearing was hearsay.
To just use hearsay. And
no,
so the
you didn't
judge,
say
when
that.
he
You said most of it was hearsay, actually.
Yeah,
the overwhelming majority.
Well, I mean, I'm leaning now into my opinion.
She said it was all
scientific
hearsay.
Aspects, which they kept asserting, like the federal rule 403 or 402. Some of those parts were quite
Sounds
scientific.
like you're backtracking quite a bit.
No, I'm not backtracking at all. What do you feel like let me help you. Where do you feel like I'm backtracking? It literally was done under Utah's 1102.
Yeah, nobody disputed that.
Okay.
What the dispute was is whether or not most of it was overwhelmingly hearsay.
Yes,
is that the case?
it was. Yes,
okay.
that's
Stop giving her a break. She didn't say most of it was hearsay. She said everything at the preliminary hearing was hearsay. Why are you giving her an out on this? Like, what the fuck, Andrew? Why are you giving her an out?
fact. I'm not backtracking on that at all.
And what are the things?
How many times did you, I mean, if you watch the preliminary hearing, it's like they constantly, I'm 1102, 1102, 1102, 1102, 1102. And the reason for that is because it's allowed. I'm not saying it's illegal. It's allowed at this stage, but I'm just reminding you that when you're going to sit across from someone and your claim is going to be, where is your hard evidence? This is what I heard and I agree with what I'm watching. You are watching the state put on a hearsay
Yes.
preliminary
There's gonna be
hearing,
hearsay. True.
and all of those things are not going to be
I'm gonna get
allowed,
so
right?
many
Even when they
clips
got
out of
into
this.
witness statements and things of that
She's so
nature.
insane.
There's a reason why they swear you in and they say, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth. Did you,
These
write
things
this
are not in
statement?
dispute.
So it's the overwhelming majority of what you saw was hearsay because other people were representing other people's statements. They were saying they had conversations. We don't know where it came from, all allowed at this stage. Okay. But it's hearsay. So it
But
doesn't,
even a lot of that stuff may not fall under hearsay under what we just read, right?
but the evidence that you're speaking about, like when you're just, when you say that we're going off vibes, you don't know Tyler Robinson. Okay. His boyfriend is not 100% it was him. So I'm going back to your points that you made that this was overwhelming evidence for you. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, overwhelming just means
You can't
convincing.
consider another
Because at the preliminary hearing, there was DNA, there was the gun, there was prints, there was medical examiners, there was police testimony. None of that is hearsay.
option that there
Well,
could have been
hang
another
on. Do you
white
agree
guy
with me
wearing
that I-
Converses on campus.
Yeah, do you agree with me that I said that what overwhelming means to me is that it's just very convincing to me?
Yeah, and I find it to be completely unconvincing.
fair. I
Because
understand that
I
you
looked
can
at those
Apparently,
blurry
according to her,
photos
the
that they
admission is
presented and
hearsay,
said, your statement on right now is that
Yeah.
he's wearing Converses and he also like that's just
But
crazy.
these aren't
to me.
the evidences that I find the most convincing.
How many times is she going to talk about the shoes and pretend that's all Andrew talked about?
Well, you said that in your Twitter,
That's not the only thing I've ever said on my Twitter about this case.
right? But the question that was asked of you was pretty direct,
yeah.
right? What did you
and
find
this
to
is
be?
not an exhaustive list of all the things
Well,
that
that's
I
not
find
what you said in the
convincing.
tweet. You can tweet longer too. It's not like we're limited now to 240
So,
characters
so
anymore.
wait, so any
So because he didn't give a list in that tweet of every single piece of evidence in the case, he doesn't get to believe anything else. This is insane.
thing that I tweet and all other tweets that I've ever made are now excluded because I used the word overwhelming in this one.
Well, they
even
wanted-
though all of this information I've said so publicly over and over and over again is what informs my position for why I'm convinced on the case. That's bizarre to me.
I feel like this is Andrew versus Andrew. Somebody asked you a question. What are the points that you find to be the most overwhelming? And you answered.
You mean
and
from that day, from that particular day of the hearing that I was responding to?
okay, this is something you find to be more overwhelming? Let me ask you that question.
Yes,
okay,
that's what
do
I
you?
was saying,
Okay, go ahead.
yes.
Go on. What do you find to be more overwhelming?
Yeah.
Can we do this? Do we want to get into it, or do we want to do a quick ad break? Are you guys good to keep going, or
I'm fine to keep going, but we can
would
also.
you like to take a quick break?
Doesn't
or
matter to me either
if
way.
we're going into a different topic, that may be another 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I don't want to stop you
Yeah,
guys in the middle
let's
of it.
end
So
it
what
on
would you
what
like
you
to
find
do?
to be more overwhelming.
Yeah. So if we're, for me, it's the
She's basically like, hey, give me something so that after the break, my team can tell me what to say about this.
confessions, the text messages, all of that is what I consider to be, from my opinion, that's the most convincing for me.
Okay, we should discuss the text message confessions when we get back, if you'd like to.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea. Folks, we're going to take a quick ad break.
All right, so we'll go back to this. All right, so yeah, I'm not watching fucking Candace Owens ads. Like, we're not doing that. So I'm not watching her fucking ads. But here's the reality, guys. Like, this is like we're through probably the first half of this debate, and Candace Owens hasn't been made to address any of the claims she's made. Andrew has had to spend this entire time defending his claims. Candace hasn't had to defend a single fucking thing yet. Like, this is insane. She hasn't had to defend a single fucking thing. Like, she's the one who's made all these insane claims. But somehow, through an hour and a half of this, she hasn't been made to validate anything she said. And same here, Angie. I am extremely disappointed in Andrew right now. Because simply by the fact that he didn't call it out, that when she said everything in the preliminary hearing was hearsay, is insane. Let me see if I can skip ahead because I'm a little behind. So let me see here. Oh, let me see here. Oh, there we go. All right, let's get back to it.
Okay, we're back. Fantastic. I think we're back. By the way, just an FYI for those of you that are watching The Crucible, there's 30,000 concurrent there watching. Support Andrew Wilson. That's your fans of his. Click that subscribe button and helps him grow his business. If you're watching Candace, I think there's 225 to 250,000 concurrent right now. We'd like to see that 300, 400,000 number on there. Click that button as well to subscribe and share it with your friends and family. And if you're watching it on PBD Podcast, do the same there as well. This allows us to have more conversations like this. The mainstream media
Thank you for reminding me
hates
that
the
we were
fact that
behind,
we're
so
having
I
these
can skip ahead.
conversations right now. Just so you know, they want to control it. This is free for all. This is what's best for the audience. That's why we like freedom of speech. Having said that, let's go back into the text conversation you were having, right?
Okay.
Let's stay there, and then we'll go into the cross-examination stuff in about 30 minutes.
Okay, that sounds fair. Okay, so yeah, I used basically three pillars for the totality of the evidence. Okay, so if you want to know exactly what those three pillars are, this is going to be the testimony with the text messages and the confessions. This is going to be the physical evidence, and this is going to be the totality of the summary of the case. Okay, so right now we're focusing on one of these pillars in my defense, which is fine. I understand that I have to defend my claims as well. So when we're talking about the messages themselves, they seem totally valid. I have no idea why they wouldn't be valid. And I have not heard any good explanation for why it is that these messages should even be questioned. The defense hasn't questioned them, as far as I'm aware. Nobody has actually questioned that these messages came from Robinson to date, except perhaps you and other people who are kind of in that camp. But why should I question these exactly? I'm not sure.
Okay, so first let's just go over legally what the point is of a probative hearing. The defense is not putting on, they're not there to say or to argue or to defend themselves at all. They have to address what is being presented by the state, okay? So they're not here to then say, let me give you an explanation for these text messages.
Agreed.
The relevant portion of what the defense did do was actually before we got to the preliminary hearing. I had mentioned that it was initially supposed to be scheduled for some time in May. They asked for an extension. That reading through those filings of why they were requesting an extension and why I actually believe their extension should have been granted, because they did not receive discovery on their text messages. That was one of the reasons. There were many reasons why they wanted to have an extension, but this was crucial, right? So forget just the general sense that these messages feel off. And yes, you are allowed to have an intuition. You are allowed to have a sense and just go, this is very weird. We're being told this kid had like above a 4.0, Tyler Robinson. He wanted to get away. I mean, the text messages almost run head to head with themselves. Like
How the fuck does him having a 4.0 have anything to do with this?
Wanted to get away with it, so he thought the best thing to do would be to text a full confession of what he did, down to what I didn't even remember, saying, yeah, and that's also me in the surveillance footage. It felt a little too on the nose. People have common sense. You just don't text message. But then we're also supposed to believe that he put a note under and burn this and get rid of the evidence. But don't worry about that because I'm about to text you a full confession. That it felt off. It felt weird off the bat. The man.
He didn't text her. He didn't text his partner a full confession. He just said, yeah, that's me.
In which they were texting, we're told he's like a gamer who's using a Dremel to carve expressions, catch fascists, but then
he didn't say he was a gamer. Just because he used Discord doesn't mean he was a gamer.
And suddenly he's writing like a 1700
also, as a Helldivers
novelist
player, he did actually get the 500K code correct.
Yeah, I'm not a gamer, so we'll say that. If we start debating that, you'll be way over my head.
But yes,
but my point being is just that, first, it's a general sense of why people had a reaction to these messages. That
again, having a reaction to messages to say that he used the Dremel to carve shit into the rounds and confessed to his trans lover. Why is that so unbelievable?
Seemed like they were written by Jane Austen rather than like a
Jane Austen. What are you talking about? It was a fucking half a paragraph Discord message. What are you talking? Who the fuck, guys, anybody here that has read the message that Tyler Robinson sent to whoever the fuck he was fucking, did anybody read that and go, wow, this is literary level Jane Austen? Like that's an insane claim.
A kid who games and writes catch.
Yeah, but do you see
fascists.
how that's intuition?
That is, I just said that. I said just parking aside the intuition of just something feels wrong here, which you should follow your intuition. You should actually do that. If you say the COVID vaccine is running out, feels like it's coming out too fast and there's too many celebrities telling me to do it, I'd like to take a pause. That's good. That is, you are allowed to do that. I believe in intuition.
But hang on. Let me
aside,
respond a little bit here because you've been going for a minute. Let me at least respond to a little bit of this. So the first thing is like when people bring up the COVID vaccine, not trusting the COVID vaccine en masse was the science. That wasn't just intuition. That was the science. There was tons of competing science. Now they try to suppress it. That's true. But there was tons of competing science for why you shouldn't take a risky mRNA vaccine and masks and things like
they
this.
Kept telling us was 100%.
Now, when you're talking about intuition, though, when you say trust your intuition, I'm actually giving a different message. You actually should be very wary about trusting just your intuition. It is true that intuition can be useful, but it has to be tempered with logic, reason, explanatory power, and evidence, not just intuition.
That's why we're parking it aside. Intuition's the first step. Something feels off, right?
Okay.
That was my first step with COVID. I don't like the way it's being pushed. It shouldn't require a celebrity campaign.
She has somehow brought COVID into this.
Wow. By the way, another element of that is why people don't feel good about the Charlie thing. Why do we have so many influencers saying things? It's over. Why are you guys all using the same adjective? Can you switch it up? I'm overwhelmed. Like, chill. Like, you could say, I found some
Kind of
parts
like
compelling. I think this should go.
Like
I found some parts compelling. Maybe we should, see at the trial. That would be kind of.
Don't you think Fed slop's a buzzword for the counter industry?
But everyone on the same day of watching this trial, which was, I would say, not overwhelming at all. Nobody came in medium, right? No one came in like there were some interesting aspects. This was a little suspect. But I do think it's enough to go to trial. They all came in like they were passing away and we're going to die from being overwhelmed.
Well, they're trusting their intuition.
Okay. Well, actually, in that scenario, they're looking at the preliminary hearing and have a reaction to it. It wasn't their intuition. But like I said, parking aside, just getting to the substance, parking that aside, aside just a general intuition that sometimes might be second messages. Then we look at the filings, which came from the defense, and they were requesting an extension saying, we have gone to the prosecution and we have requested all of this stuff in discovery. Yes, you are saying that you took Lance's phone, okay, and that you collected his phone on September 11th and that you sent it off or whatever. You took a picture of the text messages and we are being given these text messages to review. Crucially, Kathy Nestor said, I have not even been given access to my client's phone during this hearing. She said, I haven't even been given access to my client's phone. She can't tell you as a part of their discovery.
Because she doesn't get access to the phone. What is she talking about?
It's not enough to say to me, Candace, I just got a text message from Candace. And I say, I didn't send that text message. Maybe that's what her client's saying. We don't know because we're not at the trial, right? Maybe he didn't send those messages. Could there be someone who logged into his Discord? Could there be someone who logged in to his Apple? George could be sending text messages right now. We are married. He has every login that I have. And remember, he's up for a death sentence. So if I'm able to sow reasonable doubt with common sense.
So now somebody else logged in his Discord and sent the messages. Again, no evidence of that. Zero evidence of that. By the way, I will point out that anytime you log into a Discord, it logs in the IP of where you logged in to send those messages from. She doesn't know that because she's fucking stupid. But yes, every time you log into Discord from a different device, it will log that you logged into it from a different location at a different time.
He may come during the trial and when they actually have to address these points, say, I did not write those messages. I was here. Lance, my boy.
Yes, also on a phone, Lungbuster. Yes. It logs any time you log in from a new device.
Friend was logged into my phone, logged into my Apple ID and my iCloud sending messages. I know that we have the capability because my husband does it. He has the capability to send messages from my phone.
Yes, but it will log where you sent it from, especially on Discord. When I log into a session right here on my Discord, it logs it as coming from my PC with an IP address. I also have Discord on my phone. When I log in and send messages from my Discord on my phone, Discord logs that came from my phone. So no, they very obviously know where the Discord messages were coming from. She doesn't know this because she doesn't actually investigate anything.
Phone. It is not convincing to the public when, for whatever reason, the FBI combined with the SBI, it was not the prosecution's fault. They made that clear during that hearing, would not allow them that discovery request to be able to see where did that message come from? Because you're saying my client was here, right? I want to know if that message actually was generated from his iPhone when he was waiting to retrieve his, rifle, hoping that the pooch doesn't have a bad sniffer, like just weird messages. I want to make sure that, yes, it was actually him. He was holding his phone, and his boyfriend didn't just log in to his computer when he was home. Lance was his boyfriend. That is a crucial fact here. That discovery was not met by the time we got to preliminary hearing. So I remain unconvinced by these text messages. Just as you feel convinced by them, I feel unconvinced by them.
Okay. So then the idea here is the reason that you don't think that these are valid text messages, and you don't, right?
It has not been proven that these messages are valid, and they don't sound valid to me. I don't think anyone, even if someone was selling like a, I don't know, pot on the corner, would be smarter than to write a full-fledged confession. He even writes, I thought I would get away with it, and I was hoping never to tell you until old age. And then we're being told that he wanted to commit suicide. And okay, but he just said he wanted to get away with it, but he's not smart enough to, I don't know, maybe not text it's such a confession like we've never seen. I think this would be like the first time ever somebody has start to finish written an entire, I'm in this surveillance footage and I'm here and I'm wearing my Converse. You know, I'm being a little facetious here, but it was a little ridiculous. It didn't pass a sniff test for me.
You have kids. And you love them more than anything.
I do.
If it was the case that you thought that your kid was innocent, wouldn't you be out telling everybody and their brother that you thought that they were innocent? And also, wouldn't you maybe recant and say, hey, he didn't actually confess to me. He didn't actually, none of this happened the way that the state is presenting it. Well,
That's a very good point, because Tyler Robinson's parents, while they're saying that Tyler Robinson's parents turned him in, that they heard him confess and all of this, and never since then have they gone back on that. So let's be real. If his parents were like, no, he didn't confess to us, wouldn't they have fucking said that somewhere?
what would have prevented the parents from testifying?
Well, two things. I can answer that. And if you watch my show, I keep telling you it's not vibes. So right after the shooting happened, Lance Twiggs, the FBI put him into a safe house they paid for. They went to the parents as well, to Matt Robinson and Amber, basically said, your life's at risk. There could be somebody who jumps up and wants to avenge Charlie Kirk. And, we're going to watch you. And they went into a federal safe house.
They did not. They did not.
What happened next is that they started thinking that the feds were maybe gonna, maybe not as honest as they thought. And
how do you know any of that?
So she's saying that the reason why the parents didn't tell the truth was because they're afraid the feds were going to kill them. That's what she's going with. Thank God Andrew just asked, where are you getting that from?
So you gotta watch the show, right?
Yeah, no.
So no. Candace, that's not an answer. He shouldn't get that from you saying that. He's sitting across from you. He wants to know where you got that from.
How do you know that?
I had a source within the Robinson family.
You have a source, an anonymous source, of course. So there's no way for us to verify that what you're saying right now is actually even true.
Do you find it to be reliable hearsay?
No, I don't find it to be reliable at all. It's just a source.
I'm just doing what the prosecution
What you're doing
did.
is a cool story.
It's not cool. Well, you must have hated watching the preliminary hearing.
You're giving us a cool story.
Wait,
you're saying that according to your sources, that the reason that the parents haven't recanted any of this.
Recanted what? They have no statement from the parents. Wait,
I just want to make sure that if it was the case that was being reported in mainstream media, that your father came to you and said, hey, is this you? What's going on here? And then he and one of his buddies took you in where you turned yourself in. You wouldn't go out and be like, no, that's not what happened.
That isn't what happened, though. You're just wrong on this.
Okay. Maybe I'm paraphrasing. What am I wrong on?
So what is sorry, just so I'm clear, where is your evidence that the parents turned him in?
Why are we going back? Why are we going back to this is on the parent, to this is on Andrew? Literally, she just made a claim. He said, okay, well, what's your evidence for that claim? She goes, I have a source in the family. And then he goes, okay, so we just have to take your word on this. And now now he has to provide evidence. Her evidence, I wish Andrew would just go, well, I have a source in the family. That's what Andrew should do. If she's debating me, my response right here is, well, I got a source in the family, but it's anonymous and I can't tell you. I would just give her the same bullshit she's giving me.
Well, no, I didn't say that.
You said there's the mainstream media?
I said with a sheriff friend.
Yes.
But the father did confront him.
The father confronted what?
Tyler Robinson.
And where did you learn this? That the Tyler
Well, I mean,
confronted
that's part
him?
of the official documents. Our fact checkers can pull that up. But yes.
But I'm saying, but when you say official documents, do you mean you saw this on CNN or you saw this play out in the hearing?
No, this was one of the things that I went through and fact check pre-debate.
Are you talking about like the charging documents?
I think it was it could have been in the charging documents, but I do. We can pull them up.
No.
And yes, are you disputing this?
Do we have that in the back to pull it up? 'Cause
I can
know-
already tell you what you're talking about, the charging documents. Because
So just to be clear, yes, I asked, did Tyler Robinson's dad confront him about it being him in the video? Yes. Following the release of surveillance photos by law enforcement, Tyler Robinson's father recognized him, confronted him about being the person in the images, and encouraged him to turn himself in. According to law enforcement reports in court proceedings, recognition and confrontation. After authorities distributed public photos from the scene, Robinson's father saw the images, recognized his son, and confronted him about it. Admission. During the confrontation, Robinson confessed to his father that he was indeed the person shown in those photos. Surrender effort. His father urged him to surrender to police. Although Robinson initially hesitated, a family friend pastor was contacted, which ultimately led to authorities locating and detaining him. So she is 1,000% wrong on this, and it's provable. I seriously hope the fact checkers are at least as good as me and are willing to spend 3 seconds to look this up.
this is where we had to.
I'm sorry, but if his fact checkers aren't able to find what I found through CBS News in the 10 seconds it took me to research that, then this is bullshit.
To figure out where this story came from, because everyone was operating under the assumption that Matt Robinson turned him in. Until we got to the preliminary hearing and we understood, like I said, even for that, when you are charging someone, you can use hearsay. It's all probative, right?
Sure.
Nothing. So they didn't have statements. It's not like Matt Robinson, even though he was interviewed that night. Amber Robinson was interviewed that night by a Fed, separate rooms. Tyler Robinson was interviewed by a Fed. They did not produce statements saying, my son did this. I believe my son did this.
Yes, they did.
But what happened was they did interviews, but also the crucial.
No, they absolutely did. What the fuck is she talking about? His father said right on the spot, he confessed it to me. What is she talking about?
Person here who you just brought up is Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell is the biggest unknown in this entire case. Everyone keeps saying they heard from Mike Mitchell this, they heard from Mike Mitchell that. So when the person wrote up the report that night, and it was Brian Davis who wrote up what became the charging document, he after they transported Tyler Robinson from the Washington Sheriff's County office up to, I think it's Salt Lake City.
Yes, but before they transferred him, though, his father said that Tyler confessed to him.
I think it was 4 a.m. in the morning that they got up there. He then writes the what becomes a charging document. So he's basically saying, we all spoke to a bunch of people and here's the information that we got, right? We've not seen that. So it could have come from Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell.
What the fuck are his fact checkers doing? He has 3 people there that are fact checking. What the fuck are they doing right now?
Could be saying.
I don't know how this negates the point, though. Why
it
wouldn't
truly
the
negates
parents?
the point because you don't have a statement from the parents.
Yeah,
yes, we do.
Going.
Why wouldn't they just correct the
It's not correcting. That
misinformation?
doesn't negate the point. The point is that we now got the preliminary hearing. If the parents were the ones who said, "I'm turning my son in because he's guilty,"
I didn't say they turned him in.
I think you're talking about the over. You said it's been the narrative. Everybody's known this. The narrative initially, which I think you agree with, was that Matt Robinson knew his kid was guilty and turned him into the police station. What actually happened in terms of Sheriff Brooksby, who was present there and gave a press conference, what happened was this Mike Mitchell character essentially peer pressured him, and we can get a fact check on this. We can find Sheriff Brooksby's press conference, and he said, they know it's you, and you're going to come in peaceably, or people are going to be banging down your door. He was a undercover cop, which I don't like that. I don't know what he did undercover. It's very hard to find anything about Mike Mitchell, but he worked with them for 20 plus years, the police officers. The reason why Tyler Robinson knew him was because he lived nearby and he was also his Boy Scout
How
leader.
does this negate the parents could write this second? And by the way, if you had the evidence, I'm
going to address that point. I'm just saying that your first point, which is that the parents did this.
Yeah.
We don't know that the parents.
I didn't say that they did ever. Never happened.
You're quoting the parents as having said. You said that Matt Robinson said that his kid was. You say involved. I don't want to misquote misquote you.
Confronted him about
Confronted him.
Yes.
And I'm telling you that we have not seen any evidence that that is true.
We can fact check that.
Okay.
Because we do have evidence that
And
that's
I'm
true.
saying it's the charging doc, which could have been derived from a statement Mike Mitchell said.
Two things I have ready in the back. One is the charging doc, and the
Yes.
other one is a video of Kathy Nestor saying she hasn't seen Tyler's phone.
Okay, we can
Okay.
run
Which
Kathy to
one
go
would you
back,
wanna
and
see
then
first?
just to
You
go
wanna see
backwards
Kathy
to
first?
Kathy first in court saying she didn't get her client's phone. Yeah, and then I think we'll go to the if you're
thing
okay
not,
with that.
A thing not in dispute. These are all things that are not even disputing.
Okay, so we don't
And
have to show it.
We never get to the thing that I am disputing.
Well, I was just providing an answer. We were coming back in from a break because you were talking about the text messages as something that you felt was concrete. So it was just my rebuttal to you that it's not concrete because they haven't had a chance to actually answer that. And she didn't even get to see your client's phone. So that's effectively, again, the state saying these messages are real. You don't get the discovery on these messages just yet. She will during trial. They will actually get
Don't you
discovery on the
think
messages.
that would make their case fall apart if it was the case that they weren't able to actually pull the data off the text messages? Do you think the prosecution would go to court with fabricated text messages?
It's called winners and losers. They may not be fabricated, but by the way, as what they are saying, like I said, if there was somebody logged into his phone,
I'm going to be real. Andrew is debating himself right now because Candace isn't being made to answer anything. He's literally fucking debating himself. This is insanity.
they may not be fabricated. That's the point.
So let's get to the
they just
let's
could
get
be
to
somebody
parents,
else.
the parents fact check. That
Yeah,
was
so
the
I
other
was
one,
saying,
right?
I believe what you're talking about was derived from the
don't re-explain it now, Candace. We know what you claimed. Don't change. She's going to change what she was claimed now.
charging doc, which was signed off by Brian Davis.
Let's pull it up.
Let's see if that's correct. What are we looking at
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, I'm sorry.
Can you zoom in a
here? Is
little
this
bit?
the charging
I
doc?
can't see it. Robinson's
yes.
father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched the rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle, which makes sense with the text messages. Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson. Robinson implied he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home.
Yes. So this is
keep
proving
going.
my point. Is this
Keep
is
going. I swear to God, if they don't keep fucking reading, because as they discussed the situation, Robinson implied that he was the shooter and stated that he couldn't go to jail. He just wanted to end it. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there's too much evil and the guy Charlie Kirk spreads too much hate. They talked about Robinson turning himself in and convinced Robinson to speak with the family friend who was a retired deputy sheriff. At Robinson's father's request, the family friend met with Robinson and his parents and convinced Robinson to turn himself in.
from the charging document, correct? Yeah. So what I'm saying
Please
to you
keep
is that
reading.
3 people got interviewed on that night. Mike Mitchell got interviewed.
How the fuck are we not reading the next paragraph? There's a reason why your fact checkers highlighted the next paragraph. Why are we not reading the next paragraph? The one where Robinson implies that he did it.
Amber Robinson got interviewed and Matt Robinson got interviewed. Of the 3 of them, only one
How did that just happen? How the fuck did we skip over that? How in the hell did we not read that next paragraph? Are you fucking kidding me? The next paragraph where Tyler Robinson says he did it and they convince him to turn himself in. That is in what the fuck?
one of them actually wrote a statement, which was referred to in this preliminary trial. He came in, I believe, in March, Mike Mitchell, and he wrote a statement, which I find to be very shady that they
Got
decided
it.
to bring.
But why aren't the parents disputing that?
No. Well, first off,
That's the question
First
I've
off,
been
the
asking.
parents are not going to ever play in court, play to the cameras in court when they have a legal team that is going to be advising them not to speak to the court because your son could go to prison
But
forever.
they're playing to somebody else who's your source?
I'm not going to address that.
They're
'Cause
playing to
I don't-
someone
I-
else
I don't
who's your
think- I don't
source
think
but
it's-
won't go publicly tell the media this is not true?
Well, what I did not say to you that I just said I have a source, so I want to be very clear and take it from somebody who is involved and permanently sued. When I have to take my lawyer's advice, I mean, there's so many things that I want to respond to when people are speaking about.
Yeah, but it's bizarre that they would utilize a source which would get the information to you, but wouldn't just go to the media and be like, actually, that's all wrong.
I am telling you that you would nary find a lawyer who would advise you to go to the media. And, speak.
This mother,
especially when your son is
if I thought that my kid
was up for death.
if I thought that my kid was in any way, shape, or form going to be up, you couldn't shut me up. Or my wife, she would be like, that's not true. That's ridiculous. There's no possible. That never happened. These people are lying through their teeth. They'd be public whether you like it or not.
Yeah, you have to understand what Candace is trying to say here. Candace is trying to say that all that stuff that's out in the media, all that stuff that is being said that the parents did and is included in the charging document in the fucking paragraph they didn't read, what she's trying to say is that the parents nowhere in public are disputing that, but they are disputing it to her source. You understand how fucking stupid you'd have to be to think that's what's happening? That the parents are just staying quiet and not publicly defending their son. That makes zero sense.
Yeah, that's for you and your wife. But when a judge issues a gag order in a case and your son is up for death and your lawyers could be advising you that if you say anything, you could blow the case, you would have a more responsible consideration.
I see.
And I'm going to tell you right now, the fact that they didn't read that next paragraph is fishy as fuck to me. It's unbelievably fishy. The next paragraph literally talks about him telling them that it was him. And for some reason, we didn't read that paragraph. That is so unbelievably fishy. Like, why would you not read that?
And we're speaking opinion here. You're like, well, I wouldn't care. I'd violate it, and I'd violate the judge's orders and see what would happen.
If you have a source, it seems like they're violating it with them.
I'm not speaking to a source, but what I am saying to you is speaking just relevant to what this is. We have not seen any proof that statement that is included in this charging document. I think it is highly likely on the basis of the preliminary hearing that all came from Mike Mitchell, and Mike Mitchell would be a part. He's
based
saying,
on the statements of.
It's him saying the parents told me this. The parents could dispute that. That's going to come down the line, right? They're going to be able to seat the parents. I will say this, putting together context clues. If the state had it on, 100% certainty that Matt Robinson and Amber Robinson said it, a 5-day preliminary hearing would be a good time to say we have enough evidence. And I can tell you why Matt Robinson made this statement, and here is his statement that he signed. That would have been a good time to present that.
So her argument is because they didn't give every piece of evidence in the preliminary hearing, and that means it's possible the parents didn't say that. No, Candace, if the parents didn't say that, and then it was put in the charging document, there is not, guys, I imagine there's 700 people on TikTok. There's, I don't know how many people on Twitch. Guys, if you were a parent and the police put in the charging document that your son confessed to you, and he didn't confess to you, how many of you would have been in the media telling everyone on earth, hey, we didn't say that? Everybody, you'd be screaming from the rooftops. You'd never get me to shut up. Facts. Like, that's insane. There is not a parent out there that would go, well, my son didn't confess to me, but the police put in the charging document that he did, and I'm not going to say a word about it. That is pure insanity to believe that.
That evidence.
That would also be a good time for the defense to say that's just totally fabricated.
No, it's not. It's the wrong time.
Why couldn't they?
That is completely the wrong time.
Why couldn't they?
Because what they're doing is they already said they didn't receive discovery. They literally can't. They literally can't because they can't. They did not receive.
No, they did receive discovery. What they didn't receive was the cell phone, which doesn't matter in this case.
That they didn't receive that information?
No, they just received the text messages. But in order to...
That's not the text messages.
The probative information.
Yeah, we're talking about the information that we just reviewed. That's not the text messages.
No, that's the charging document.
Presented it. The state never put it on.
Yeah, they didn't. The defense could easily still have presented this. Yeah.
No.
They could have said they're
no.
They're not allowed to. Are you sure?
In a preliminary hearing,
yeah.
The defense is engaging with whatever evidence the state decides to put on.
No, they're not. And even if they were, the evidence that the state put on was the charging document. So the defense would have every right to counter the charging document. Like, that's the ridiculousness. She's acting like the state didn't put in the fucking charging document that Tyler Robinson confessed to his parents. They put that in the charging document. The preliminary hearing would be the perfect time for the defense to go, that didn't happen. That would be the perfect time. But she's actually pretending that the defense can't question what's in the charging document. Holy, this is insane. Andrew is doing such a bad job.
They did not put this on as evidence. Brian Davis was up there.
So they're not allowed to present anything?
They're responding to the state's evidence.
I'm asking, are they allowed to present anything?
They are allowed to say...
Like if there was a conspiracy that they could prove right then and there, would they present that in one of these hearings?
No, it wouldn't be the right time for that.
I disagree. I think that they not only could do it, but they would do it. In fact, when I talked in depth with my attorney, they said that's exactly, if you had actual evidence that there was fabrications by the feds, that's exactly when you would introduce that.
So when in the document that they filed yesterday or a couple of days ago, the appropriate, like what you're doing at this stage of the hearing is the state is saying, we have enough evidence that we think this needs to go forth to the trial. Hence the reason that there's this extraordinary, we allow hearsay because it doesn't really need to be perfect. It can be enough that we feel like we can move forward, right? And okay, I disagree with that in general when somebody's rotting in prison, but whatever. The next phase is for them to meet in court and for the defense to essentially present an argument to the state that says, we find this filing to be defective in and of itself. We don't even have to defend ourselves because you, the state, have enough, you know what the laws are on the books, and this filing is defective and you should get rid of these charges because they don't make sense based on what you can decide based on a law on the books.
That's not true. If the Robinson defense has evidence the charging document is false, you would point that out at the preliminary hearing. You would say, hey, a big part of this, they're basing this on the fact that he confessed. That confession didn't happen. That's what you would do at the preliminary hearing.
So then that's why they then file the dismissal, right? So in the dismissal, what they're doing is they are engaging, and this is what was widely misinterpreted.
Well, yeah, they're engaging as though as it's a hypothetical. If this is hypothetically true, then
so
X.
they're saying all of these charges.
I'm not disputing any of that.
So that's what you're asking. Why you're saying could they just put
what I'm asking specifically is like who could shut parents up who are like, no way, there's no possible. This never happened. This is ridiculous. They would be shouting it on CNN.
Yes.
They would be shouting it from the rooftops. They would be losing their minds. And you're like, nope, the gag order would be enough to keep them quiet. Not enough for them to talk to your source, but enough to keep them quiet. I think that's quite ridiculous. But
yes. Finally, he called out how ridiculous what she's saying is. Thank you. It is ridiculous.
Concede this whole point to you. Let's just say maybe this was misconstrued. Right? There's a little bit of reason to doubt it because we're still waiting for the evidence for trial. If that's the case, then why not take the same standard for the evidence that you present? You're just waiting for trial.
Well, you didn't do that.
Wait a second.
We're here.
Wait a second. I just want to make sure that I got this right. That's your argument to me, right?
My argument to you is what?
Your argument to me is that, hey, wait a second, Andrew. There's not enough here that convinces me, right?
Well, that's actually my rebuttal to you. Is that you are saying, why are people engaging in what you term to be conspiracy theories?
No.
I term it to be thinking. They're just thinking because they're recognizing there are a lot of holes in these stories and that this is not strong evidence, right? This is the reason they're doing it. I'm explaining to you, this is the reason that they're doing it. I'm addressing.
I'm just curious. Can anybody tell me what the fuck Patrick Bet-David is doing here? Anybody want to tell me what the fuck he's doing here?
What you view to be overwhelming evidence. And by the way, I want to be clear.
That which convinces me.
But thus far, every point that you've brought up, every point that you've brought up, did you feel like this is beyond a reasonable doubt? I mean, you realize
remember what I said in my opening.
Going to be
it's not beyond a reasonable doubt. It's just what I find convincing is what I find overwhelming.
So why are you so upset when people say they don't find it convincing?
If that was the limitation of the claims that you made, if it was just, wait a second, there's a little bit of problems. There's some problems in this case that I have questions for that I want answers to. Nobody'd have a problem, actually.
Exactly. If all Candace was saying was, I don't think there's enough evidence to convict Tyler Robinson or to convince me to believe it, none of us would have a problem with Candace. None of us would have an issue with none of us have ever had an issue with Candace coming forward and saying, I don't think there's enough evidence here. or I think it's hearsay. I don't think there's enough solid evidence. Nobody has a problem with that. It's all the other shit that's come along with that. It's her conspiracy theories. It's her blaming Turning Point. It's her saying that Brian Harpole was at the meeting to murder him. It's her saying that Erica wanted him dead. It's her saying that Israel was involved, that French assassins came in, that Egyptian planes were following, that the U.S. government got involved. That's what we have a problem with, right? All the other insane shit that she has claimed. Nobody has a problem with her going, I don't think there's enough evidence. That's fucking insane. And I'm so glad Andrew called it out.
Least of all me. I would be the least likely person to have an issue with it, you, any of your fans, anybody saying. In fact, I've had tons of Discord calls about this. My position's always been clear. Of course, conspiracies exist. Some of them have way better evidence than others. But I've seen them myself. I know conspiracy. In fact, the federal government has hundreds of thousands of laws about conspiracies. They see them everywhere. We both know this, right? That's never what the problem is. The problem is when you make claims outside of, well, wait a second. I'm just questioning evidence here. I'm just questioning what the state's case is here. I'm just asking questions. It's when you make claims outside of that, where you claim that there's good evidence or good standards you should believe because, and then it turns out that it's all nonsense or it's wackadoo stuff or it makes no sense. And when we have a chance to cross-examine your evidence that you've presented, I'm going to show a lot of that. A lot of this conjecture that's based on literally nothing, that leads from no inferences whatsoever. Like you couldn't even infer it logically. That's the problem. The problem has never been whether or not you just said, you know, there's not enough in this case so far until we get to the trial. I remain unconvinced. I'm sure there's tons of people who remain unconvinced yet until we get to the trial. I think that's fine. I think it's fine. There's people who are convinced too. That's never been my problem. My problem is the claims which are external to that. Okay.
I'm not sure I really care if you have a problem with what I think in my own spare time. I don't understand this like lecture that you.
What the fuck? That's not what he said. What the fuck is she talking about? That's not what he said. He didn't say I have a problem with what you think in your spare time. How the fuck did she do? How the fuck did she take what he just said and pretend that he said he has a problem with what she does in her spare time?
You just gave. But beyond that, what I'm saying is that if the state is allowed to use,
I didn't lecture you.
This is what my problem is. You guys are not allowed. Yeah, you guys think while it's still legal. You can. You are allowed to do that. So, but anyway, going back to you saying I wouldn't have a problem. I think I just demonstrated pretty thoroughly that what you claim that you have a problem with is exactly what the state is engaged in at this stage. So it just doesn't make sense.
That's not the case. In fact,
so if people look and they say, I'm looking at the gun and I see, and I'm inferring this, and someone else says, I'm looking at the gun evidence and I'm inferring that, they're both doing the exact same thing.
They're not.
She just took everything he said and ignored it and made up her own narrative of what he just said. She literally took, because all he said was, I don't have a problem with you saying there's not enough evidence. I don't have no issue with that. I have a problem with the insane theories that you make up that have no evidence whatsoever. And she just ignored all of that and pretended he has a problem with, yes, straw man of the year. Exactly.
You're just saying, I want to do it for the state.
That's propositionally false.
That is not propositionally false.
I'll explain exactly how. It is the case that every proposition is going to have a true or false conclusion, period. That's just logic, right? It's the law of excluded middle. All propositions are going to be true or they're going to be false. When we're making inferences based on propositions. We can actually come to true conclusions with false premises inside of a proposition, in fact. What we're talking about here is not whether or not you feel that you're convinced by this evidence.
But you felt like you were convinced.
Right? Sure. But here's the thing. When you ask me my reason, Andrew, why are you convinced by this? I can give you my reasons why I'm convinced by it, why it seems reasonable and rational to me to be convinced. You could even say, but Andrew, I'm just not convinced by it. If that was the limitation of your claims, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Facts.
That's why I wanted to have the conversation, in fact, was so that we could move into your actual claims that you've made, which transcend the idea of I'm just asking questions.
Before we get into that,
Yes, that is 100% what it is. Thank fucking God. Thank you, Andrew, for finally saying something.
your team has one thing they want to show before you go into that.
Okay.
So if you want to pull that up, this is the prosecution filing showing defense had full discovery by April 1st.
Oof.
They did not.
Yes.
That's not true.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
To date, the state's prosecutors have disclosed all evidence that is presently and reasonably available to them as required under Rule 16 Utah R Criminal, to be more precise, as of April 1st.
Yeah. That was not 100%.
Finish reading it. As of April 1st, they provided approximately 100% of discoverable material in his. Why are we not reading the things that his fact checkers highlight? Oh my fucking God. Your fact checker highlighted that sentence for a reason, Andrew. Read the fucking highlighted part. The prosecution has provided approximately 100% of discoverable material in its possession to the defense. In other words, the defense has what the state has, and much of this discovery was presented long ago. For the love of all that is holy, read the fucking sentence.
That's why they're caging that by saying what's reasonable. There was an entire, and we can pull this up. Like,
no.
we should now.
No, if you read the next sentence that they highlighted, it's not just what was reasonable. Like, this is insane. Why are they not reading what they highlighted? Why am I the only person who's reading what his fact checkers highlighted? What is going on here?
Play the Kathy Nestor clip because that's from there. So, and they were basically saying you don't need it at this stage, meaning it's not reasonable that you're asking for this when we're going into a hearing that's just going to be based on hearsay and stuff, things of that nature. But of course, by the time a trial comes, you're going to get all the discovery
Where's just show
documents.
cause?
No,
Yeah.
no. You're not going to get all the discovery when the trial happens. That document, if you fucking idiots actually read the next sentence in the document, it says that everything the state has, the defense has. The next sentence said that. Why are you letting her argue this? Like, this is insane. She just made an argument that would have been completely defeated if people had read the other sentence that his fact checkers highlighted. This is insane. It literally said in there that they have provided 100% of the materials and said, in other words, every single thing that the defense has, everything that the state has. That was the next sentence. Why are they not reading that? Why are you skipping the most important parts of every fact check?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what they're saying.
Yeah,
there.
I understand.
Okay. So that's
I'm even fine with
yeah,
it.
that we all know. And then, by the way, just now that the hearing is over, and you can also fact check this, they now at the end of the preliminary hearing dropped like an insane amount of the discovery stuff they gave to them like the week after. You guys can give me the exact amount. I don't want to say because I don't know my I don't remember how much it was. It was an absurd amount of stuff that they gave to them right after the preliminary hearing that they had been asking for. Because that was one of the things that I kept saying on my show is as we were watching that preliminary of the preliminary, why not just give them the stuff now so they can engage in these arguments? Because I feel like you, it's like, I want to hear what they have to say about the text messages. Why can't you just give them what they're asking for so that they can actually engage you? And it didn't happen. So, but the judge ruled that it wasn't necessary at this stage. And that was the whole point of that
because it's a show
preliminary to
cause.
the preliminary. Yeah.
Yeah.
would you like to play the Kathy video?
Well, he's saying he's not disagreeing, so I don't think we need
There's
to.
no point here.
There's no
Okay.
disagreement
All right, great.
that she said that.
Yeah.
So so I guess
Yeah.
the
I'd like to
disagreements now
also-
would move
I-
into the evidences that you have stated
Yeah.
on the record, which transcend elements of reason.
Why are we
in regards
having
to this
a
case.
transcendental conversation now? Because I mean,
Because
first,
they're all
because
related to this
your
case.
entire thing was about looking at the evidence, which never made sense to me. Again, because all of the evidence that you felt to be over.
His argument was looking at the evidence, which never made sense to me. She actually just said that. In fact, I need a timestamp of that. She actually just said your argument was looking at the evidence, which never made sense to me.
overwhelming was hearsay. That was bizarre to me.
You told me that I could take as much time as I
No,
wanted
you
to
can.
question you on
No,
these
but
things.
I'm just asking you just to lay the groundwork of what you're saying is
Because you've
problematic,
made
that
many,
you
many
decide that it trips
claims.
into
I'll
something
explain.
else. And I do still want to hold you for going through, because we've discussed the gun, we've discussed your...
And you can hold me to those things, but I
yeah.
would like to get into the
and
things
we should
that you've
discuss
said.
the screwdriver as
So,
well.
and I'll explain exactly what the groundwork is. When you make claims which pass the idea of I'm just asking questions because the state's evidence is not convincing, I think you have to answer for those claims because they are in regards to this case. You're saying, I have a claim. It is in regards to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which is what we're talking about, not just the case of Charlie Kirk, his assassination. You should have to answer for the claims that you've made in regards to the assassination itself. You should, yeah, agreed. So if that's the case, then I would like to finally dive into some of that evidence and dive into it.
Well, just to be clear,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to have you talk about, like I said, publicly, you want to engage in some conspiracies, but I said I want to make sure that we get to the substance of our debate. The substance of our
This is
debate
this is the major
is me
substance.
demonstrating that all of the quote unquote evidence that you feel that you have, which demonstrates that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk.
You don't find convincing. I get it.
It's been invalidated by the testimony that we saw, and in your answer for when I
you haven't
explained to you that he had
invalidated
the
it.
most degraded prints was, I don't know. Okay, well there lies my ability to process that.
It's just fine for you to not be convinced up to this point. All of your viewers, everybody watching, nobody's
you're conceding.
Nobody's giving
on
a
that.
dispute that if all your claims ever were just up to now, the evidence that the state's given, I'm just kind of not convinced. That is not what's been happening. What's actually been happening is that you've made tons of claims in regards to this case and in regards to the Kirk assassination, which are far above and beyond, I just doubt, the state's theory.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I mean, sure.
those are
I
the
do
things
doubt. I
that
do doubt the state's theory.
No. That's not what he said, Candace. He has no problem with you doubting the state's theory. What he's saying is you're welcome to doubt the state's theory. He's fine with that. What he has a problem with is the insane claims you've made.
I also am
I get
welcome
it.
to say what I think. If you want to move into opinions, if you want to talk about Erica Kirk, if you want to talk about Turning Point USA,
I'd like to talk about all
and
of
get
it.
into it, I'm totally happy to do that. But I just want to say that, I do not feel, because I've said what's important to me is that we exhaust this topic
I need to order another
first
coffee.
of our actual debate claims. I do not feel that you sufficiently have argued that the evidence is overwhelming.
You're not here to argue whether or not what Andrew believes is true, Candace. We are addressing you and your insane fucking claim. Guys, I'm going to be real. Is anybody, the 700 people on TikTok, however many people are on Twitch, however many people are on YouTube, is anybody here to hear Andrew's claims about the assassination? Is anybody here for that? Did anybody give the slightest fuck what Andrew thinks happened? None of us are here for that. Nobody is here to hear Candace Owens refute what Andrew thinks. We are here to hear Candace explain her evidence for her insane fucking claims. That's what we're here for. She is making this like everybody is here to hear Andrew validate his claims and back up the state. That's not what we're here for. We want to have her explain her evidence for the insane shit that has come out of her mouth.
Sorry.
Candace, question for you.
That
What,
Tyler
But I am
Robinson.
sorry you feel that way.
Candace, one question. What evidence do you need to see for you to say Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk?
That's a great question. So I actually expected in this preliminary hearing, the inverse of what he was saying is true, right? So this is now the time the state is putting on their evidence. That's the purpose of this hearing, right? The state is using hearsay, but they're also putting on their evidence. So I was just expecting some sort of a slam dunk. Like, we got him on camera taking the shot. At least we have him clear on camera. You're telling me this guy drove 13 hours all around. Like, we can definitely show you a picture that it's going to be beyond a reasonable doubt. Before we even get to the trial, people are going to see and go, oh crap, like it was really Tyler Robinson. I was expecting to at least see evidence that, because I had reported early on that the source was saying that Tyler did not step foot on campus that day. It is my perspective that he had something to do with something. I do believe he was disposing clothes at this stage, at this phase. I do believe he was disposing clothes. He was involved somehow. I find Lance to be more suspicious, if I'm being honest with you. And also, like I said, the use immunity that was given to Lance by the feds, the fact that the feds didn't ask him any questions, the fact that I spoke with Lance Twiggs' family, and they were like, it's very weird that the feds are not asking him more questions. He's exactly the person that I would imagine to be involved in some stuff. Allegedly, I'll say allegedly. But when we got to the preliminary hearing, there was not a single piece of evidence that I felt was slam dunk. I was waiting for that, a photo. I mean, anything would have made me go, all right, I think this could be the guy. If they had handed over the discovery on the text messages, since that was their big ta-da, we've got the text messages, that would be the first thing that I would hand over. But actually, who was holding them up? Like I said, it wasn't the prosecution. They're right to say we were handing things over, and we heard the defense argue on behalf of the prosecution, saying it's not them and it's not the SBI, it's the FBI that's holding on to things. Is the FBI took everything. The FBI took the gun. The FBI took initially the screwdriver. And then when I heard testimony about
none of what she's saying is true, by the way. None of what that entire rant she just did, none of that is true.
Things that they found that were suspicious. Example being the backpack. That's something that really bothers me. That they say they traced the shooter, they traced the route that he went on, and then there was an abandoned. We know it looks like he's wearing some sort of a backpack. We know that there was an abandoned backpack found at the bus stop in front of a library, and they felt that this should be taken into evidence. They took it. The FBI, this was the testimony of Amanda Baker, I believe her last name is, but you might want to fact check that because I think I'm blending last names.
How frustrated am I?
She was the forensics for the FBI. And then she says she gets a call on the 13th and they stop testing on this backpack because they find that the backpack actually belongs to somebody on Charlie's team. But if you know the map of the layout of the campus, you're going, well, what the hell are they doing all the way up? This is nowhere near anywhere. And by the way, that's not an acceptable answer for why you just gave it back.
What does this have to do with anything?
Why would you give it back? You're acting like no one's ever been killed by somebody on their team before, right? So I found that to be very strange that it was on the exact route that the alleged gunman ran, and that their excuse was we just gave it back because we heard that this belonged to somebody on Charlie's team.
None of that had to do with anything. That was just her ranting her fucking conspiracy theories again. None of that had to do with anything.
So that to me,
how long are we going to let Candace monologue and not answer a single fucking question?
is this is why the investigation itself feels underwhelming. When you learn, and this is completely crazy to me, that some of the artifacts that Charlie was wearing were immediately returned to Erica. That's absurd. That is absurd. Everything should be in evidence. When you learn that the car that they carried Charlie in to go to the hospital, they had immediately towed, cleaned, and back up for resale, that's absurd. That should be sitting in evidence. And any police officer that you speak to will say, or a person that's been involved in a crime will say, I didn't get my stuff back for years. That had nothing to do with anything. It was just around. And they kept it into evidence until the trial was over, and it has to be approved. I think somebody said by the attorney general has to sign off on giving you those objects back. And we were told this is all fine. And we see, this is just one example, Erica holding the crucifix. That should be in evidence. Irrespective of if you feel bad for her and think she should have it and it's sweet, that should be in evidence. Immediately paving over the crime scene. This is like the craziest thing ever. This is like defies common sense. You immediately, and when you heard the guy who did it actually go up on a podcast and explain, I got the call. They said it was a paver emergency. I've never in my entire career heard of a paver emergency. They had already had someone come up and dig up the dirt. So by the time he got there on Sunday, the dirt had already been dug up for him.
Bro, what are we doing? Is this just an episode of fucking Candace Owens?
To lay down pavers. That is what people are looking at and going, this is weird. There needs to be answers for why this was done. And he tells us the call came from the feds and the governor's office. UVU's washed their hands of it. And what he's saying, sounds true because we heard during the testimony, one person described the regions of who was in control of everything. The feds were in control of the courtyard. So in order for anybody to have paved anything, that was federal territory, so to speak. I'm maybe not using that in the best cop term, but the feds were in control of the court.
It's not federal territory. This case is not even being investigated by the feds. Like, this is insane. Nothing she's saying is true. This has been an investigation. This is a state case investigated by the state. She keeps invoking the federal government here.
Courtyard. So these are things that I think should be answered for. Why are we doing things differently than you would in any other criminal scenario of keeping the evidence until we know more, until we're confident, the various decoys. I did it. It just doesn't look right.
Okay, so go back to the question. So what would you need to see for you to say?
I love that he recognized, hey, in that meandering fucking bullshit that you just put out, you didn't answer my question. And now he's going to give her another fucking chance to do another monologue? What the fuck is going on here?
Something, if they had, I was expecting, here we have him, he took the shot, here it is. And then I'd be like, great, a clear image of him on the staircase where I'm like, that's definitively Tyler Robinson and he was on campus. We got nothing. We got literally nothing but hearsay of people saying.
But you basically get no case.
What?
You basically no case on planet Earth. You get the,
sure.
Oh, we got a picture.
Okay,
Here's him with the murder weapon.
Right.
Here's him taking the shot.
Most of this doesn't take place on a college campus that has surveillance everywhere.
Yeah,
one clear image of his.
But I don't understand when you're
his
asked
car plates.
If you're asked the question, what would it take to convince? It'd be the same question be asked to me, Andrew. What would take to convince you that the oppositional is
Patsy,
true, right? That he's a patsy or something like that. Just good, clear, concise evidence that's been presented, right, and is being presented that I could go through and link all together to see if there's actually some clear picture of there being a patsy. That's what it would take for me.
Yeah, and that's the right answer.
Okay.
Just
I don't disagree with that. We haven't heard the defense
just
respond.
a good evidentiary standard, and then of course I would change my mind.
So just to qualify this, so there is a possibility in the next few months that you may come out and say, guys, it's done. Tyler killed him. Yeah. So you're saying yes to that.
Yeah.
I think it's very important for the audience here that from
without question.
For you, is there anything that you could see for you to say, yeah, this guy was a patsy?
Of course, I'm going to always follow evidence.
Perfect.
So my whole thing is just this. It's really important to me. I don't mind people being truth seekers.
I'm going to be real. If we get through this whole thing and she doesn't have to defend a single one of her claims, this will be the most worthless fucking debate that has ever existed. Because again, I'll state, nobody is here to hear Andrew defend the state's case. We are all here to hear Candace defend her claims.
And justice searchers, and the internet has helped solve tons of crimes. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, right? However, there's also people who, they not only don't solve crimes, but they just come up with conjecture and what's called flooding the zone. You flood the zone with tons and tons of conspiracy-based ideas and they go nowhere, right? And in fact, they actually take away from legitimate investigation. Now, I'm not even saying anybody here is purposely flooding the zone. That's not even the claim. All I'm saying is that the claims made absent, this is just me not being convinced by the state's evidence. Those become claims, and claims have to be defended. Just like mine have to be defended, yours have to be defended. And that's what we're going to get to now, yeah?
You want to get into it? Would you guys like to take an ad break?
We'll take an ad break.
Sure. And then we'll talk Erica Kirk and TPUSA.
And the conspiracies that have been conjectured by Candace Owens in regards to this case in the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Folks, we'll take a 3.5 minute break and we'll be.
All right, guys, I'm going to use the restroom. I'm not going to show Candace's ads. Fuck this. I'm going to go to use the restroom, and then we'll be right back to it. Okay? Be right back. All right, so let's go ahead and skip ahead in this a little bit. Okay, there we go. Let's turn the sound back on. Let's bring it back up. All right. This is insane.
Okay, so we're officially back. Andrew, before we go into the other issues you want to talk about, is it fair to say you're good defending your position of the overwhelming evidence?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. You take the lead. Go for it.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of questions for you, and I want to make it super painless, right? So no traps, no gotchas. I'm just going to ask them direct. And I think that as long as they're not loaded, if they're loaded, you should not respond yes or no. But as long as they're not loaded, if I just directly ask them, I'm hoping that you'll just give me a direct answer. So here's the questions that I have.
Wait, before we get into that, I would like to just reply to that. So just to be clear, we agreed to debate our claims, and then I agreed publicly that I have no issues having a conversation with you about other things that I've discussed that were outside of the court hearing and things like other evidence that's come across our lap and things that we've been speaking about.
Is she seriously going to argue that she shouldn't have to defend the claim she's made? Oh, wow.
But I just do want to make it clear to viewers that for whatever reason you think that you have a right to sort of depose me.
I'm not deposing you. I just want to ask you some questions.
You literally said that I want to be able to question you.
This is a meta conversation.
Right,
We're having
but
a meta
okay, so
debate.
now we're transcending. Like let's use a
I mean,
word
there's no-
to use
there's
a word
nothing
that you're
transcendent.
saying. But this is what you're doing, right? So
Okay.
this part to me feels like a
So
bit
am
of
I
a
allowed to ask the questions?
I've already said you can ask questions,
Then
but I
let me
made it
ask
very
them.
clear to you
Yeah.
via email and with you in conversation that we should be speaking. This
Yeah, I
isn't
know,
like
but
you
I
get to
wanna-
sit.
I wanna ask you-
She has called into question. Well, that got louder for some reason. She has called into question every single claim he's made. And now I think she's about to try to argue that he doesn't get to do the same to her.
If you want to depose me, you should join
I'm not
Brigitte
deposing
Macron's
you.
defense team.
This
But
is
you're
part-
like, I'm
this
just
is
going
a
to ask questions.
legitimate
Can you
part-
answer it? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what you're going to ask. And
I
I'm
know.
going to
And
answer
if
as
you
I
have
see
issues
fit
with it,
because I'm not.
I get it.
Yeah. Okay.
I get it.
Just
If-
so we're clear.
Usually in the debate, if something's not loaded, I'm just direct with the
Because you kept
question,
saying
with
I'm
the
Joe
answer.
Rogan. They have no evidence. They have no evidence. And now you're like, let's move away from the evidence.
You
Just talk about transcendentals.
yeah, okay. Anyway, so direct question, super easy. Was Lance Twiggs DNA on the rifle as far as you know?
We can't say that for certainty.
As far as you know.
I already answered that in the first part.
Hang on a second. My coffee's here. My dog's losing her mind. I didn't get mad at her for barking. I would never get mad at my dog for barking.
We can't say that for certainty. I told you the context of which they spoke about those things.
So
was-
no, as far as you know.
We can't say that for certainty until we know what other the 5 sets of prints were on.
So that
there.
would be no as far as you know.
We can't say that for certainty.
You can say no as far as I know for certain.
We can't say that for certainty. I actually,
You can
I,
say
just so
that
you
for
know,
certainty.
if your energy here is going to be like you're my dad and you can tell me how to speak or what I'm supposed to say, you're just going to come up against the wall. I'm
Okay,
familiar with
but-
this debate strategy.
but I
like,
am just
yes or no,
telling
yes or no,
you.
yes or no. We're not debating anymore. We're having a conversation. So I already addressed that in the first half of this about why.
No, we're still
there's-
definitely debating. This is still
no, it's not a debate.
This is
Now
inclined
this
to
is you
your
saying I want to probe
Yeah.
things that sit outside of the evidence. I actually
That
already
you've
addressed this.
stated.
You asked me.
Uh-huh.
You're not going to go like you're
Okay.
sitting and I'm on trial. I'm not on trial.
Okay, great.
So
let's
you
talk
can
about
have a
the
conversation
let's
as
talk
we've
about the
agreed
French.
to.
Let's talk about the Foreign Legion.
Sure.
Was the Foreign Legion, do you believe, trying to kill you?
Yes, that's why I reported it to the correct officials in government. That's what I was told, and I handed over that information to Tulsi Gabbard's office.
What's your best piece of evidence for that?
Well, it was
Positive evidence.
It was told to me by somebody who is high up in the French government. I passed off that information to Tulsi Gabbard's office. I also passed it off to Trump's office, Donald Trump's office. And that's all I can tell you. I wouldn't be able to probe any evidence because I don't have the power to do that. I'm not the federal government. And I would also like to say that this becomes this other piece of what you do, which is when people say, I was told this, and this is the evidence that I have, and I'm willing to have that conversation and write the email to the correct government body that deals with this. Like, I can't hack into Emmanuel Macron's bank accounts and say whether or not the information.
I agree.
But then you go, well, where's your evidence? It's like, well, my evidence is that I reported it. I did the right thing that you're going to do. So if somebody calls and says, hey, Andrew, there's a viable death threat against you, and that person definitively has the rank to be able to tell you this, and you say, well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to report that to the feds. Then I go, what's your evidence? It's like, well, I got the information, and I gave the information that I got from who I got it to the right body of people.
He's an absolute fucking idiot for asking about the fucking French Foreign Legion. Ask about her claims on the Charlie Kirk case, Andrew, for the love of God.
And that's what I did.
Got it. I just want
Cool.
to make sure.
And so
I'm not trying to trap you.
Well,
I just want to make sure I got it clear.
And that's why I say I want to know what you're doing now, because this has always been the thing. It's like, we actually can't win on the overwhelming claim. So we're just going to go and bring up everything that I think can try to embarrass her. I reported exactly as I received it.
I'm not trying to embarrass you. I just want to make sure that I get your positions clear.
I have not said, yeah, go ahead.
Guys, we need to be clear about this. She has spent the last 2 hours not only questioning every single claim that Andrew has made, but also personally attacking him about his past and about his wife. This is what we've done this is what has happened for the last 2 hours. And now he asked her one question. And we are now 12 minutes deep into a simple yes or no question.
Now, you have stated multiple times that you believe that Israel's involved in the death of Charlie Kirk.
Can you give me...
Yes, we can pull up the clip. I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
Can I finish the sentence?
Go ahead.
Can you give me the context for what are you talking about? Like, when I say, generally speaking, why people think that Israel's involved?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where's your question?
Yeah. Do you have any positive evidence whatsoever that Israel killed Charlie Kirk?
Well, I couldn't say Israel was on the ground and shot and killed Charlie Kirk. I would say that there are various things that we're trying to establish, one being a motive. And since I don't believe that Tyler Robinson and his transferee is a convincing motive because he was fired up about politics, which Lance testified that he never spoke about with him, nor do I believe that he was, so into LGBTQ issues, since Lance testified they never.
None of this has anything to do with whether or not Israel was involved. Just to be clear.
Spoke about LGBTQ issues, that he stopped and ate at Chick-fil-A, which, if you are into LGBTQ issues, wouldn't be your lunch before you go kill Charlie Kirk for
Again, still nothing.
LGBTQ issues, because,
Yeah, but do you have positive evidence?
I'm answering the question as I feel like I want to answer it. Like I said, you don't get to, for an hour and a half, pepper
But the question I'm
questions and
asking is
tell me.
about positive evidence.
I'm telling you that in any case, establishing a motive and and again, I already explained this at the top of the show, but the reason why people find Israel to be an interesting question is because, truthfully, Charlie's perspectives were changing on Israel.
Sure.
And he was starting to realize how much pressure was being put on not just our government to constantly fight their wars, but also being put on his organization personally. If people had come out and been honest about that, rather than rabid claiming he never flinched and everybody's lying and this is not true, you would probably have people that just go, that's life. People change their opinions.
I understand.
And then there was the rabid, not even that. It's like everything was about trying to convince the public how much he liked it.
So then, other than intuition, how you feel about things, do you have any evidence Israel was involved in killing Charlie Kirk?
I have already said, and if you're watching my show and the context of what I said, this is the general sense of why people think Israel's involved. Nobody has made the claim that Israelis, there were also, obviously
Ian
Joe
Carroll
Kent.
made the claim.
Well, Joe Kent, who I think would have the right to assert it, noted that there were 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground that day. I think most people would like to probe that. Now, it could be maybe they were students.
Hundreds of Israelis go to that college and surrounding universities.
And there were Israeli students in Utah that day. But we'd like to probe that narrative because what we've seen after, coming from the Israeli government, the Israeli prime minister, kind of denying that he did it, which wasn't really necessary. He was quite busy. The phone call that happened, which no one wants to discuss, in the Hamptons the week prior, or not the week prior, I think it was around August 5th or 6th that took place. And again, the almost desperate lies about Charlie shifting opinion on Israel lead us to believe that there could be an Israeli angle in this. But
None of what she just said leads us to believe that there is an Israeli angle on this. Nothing she just said. None of the things that just came out of her fucking mouth since he asked her that question lead us to believe that Israel was involved at all. Like, at all. There's literally nothing that came out of her fucking mouth. That is insane. Please, Andrew, here's what Andrew needs to do. Andrew needs to ask the exact same question. He needs to point out, you did not give me any evidence at all. Do you have any?
we cannot say for certainty that Israel called the shots and this is how it happened. But it is definitively, I think, a thread that a lot of us would like to see
say there's
pulled.
no positive evidence.
Whatever you want to say, however, positive, negative, however you want to say it.
Well, like positive evidence
I can just
would
have
be
a conversation.
Material evidence and other evidences, which would
what
point
we've
you
said
to
is on our show is what we said, which is this feels like a conspiracy building.
This feels. We're going on feels.
There's no reason to lie about these things, and yet people are lying. BB ain't acting right. The Hamptons thing was weird, and the way they tried to shove the Israel narrative down our throat immediately. I mean, the day he died, posting a picture of him with an American and Israeli AI'd photo on the president's feed doesn't.
So she has no evidence.
Feel right. So,
Do you have any evidence that Erica Kirk or TPUSA participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I've never said they participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk, so how could I say that?
I'm sorry. What the fuck did you just say? Did you oh my, Candace, I need you to understand how much that statement right there is going to get clipped to oblivion. Because yes, you fucking did. You said Charlie was betrayed by the people closest to him at Turning Point. That is insane. Andrew, please tell me your fact checkers have the video of her saying that. If you don't have the video of her saying that, your fact checkers are irresponsible, and you're irresponsible for not preparing for her to lie to your face.
That I have evidence they participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Okay. So then you don't believe that they did?
I never have said that statement, so I'm not going to get you to ask me personal questions about things that I've never said on record.
Okay, fair.
Your team is sending messages in the back saying they have a video they want to play.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know what the video is. If you're...
I want you to look at her face. Look at her face right now. She knows she's about to get shit on.
Yes, you said that there's a video you want to play that Candace said she has full confidence Israel was involved.
Yep.
Yeah. He said evidence that they killed him. I said this is why people think their involvement.
So she...
Are we really about to parse the idea of being involved in evidence that they killed him? Wow.
If they have the clip.
Yeah,
they can play the clip.
Yeah.
They're referring to a clip.
Yeah.
Via whom? My guess is Pierre. Erica. I think that there's a reason Pierre knew that Charlie was dead first. I think there's a reason he was a priority. How? Why? I think France and Israel are involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I'm going to put that out there with full confidence.
Okay.
I also
Involvement.
I understand.
Yeah.
So you think you with full confidence you...
So they're involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk, but they didn't murder Charlie Kirk. That's really where we are. This is like Bill Clinton. What is the definition of is?
You think that...
Yeah, I think
that
Israel's
France
involved.
and Israel...
Yeah, I mean, the person that gave me that thing that I reported said that French Foreign Legion were on the ground that day.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this would be at a professional limitation for me to then go and probe that information that I handed over. I can't do that. I'm not
But
the
you
United
don't have
States
any
government.
positive evidence of that.
Okay.
Right?
Liz, I don't. Can you just stop? It's actually just like annoying to hear you keep saying positive evidence. I've just asked me what I think.
No, because that's what matters, Candace. Positive evidence. There's another word for positive evidence. It's called actual evidence.
And I just tell you, yes, I think
Well,
they are
that's
involved.
a claim.
No, I said here's what I think.
I have every right
think-
to ask you about your claim.
Yeah, but
and if there's
I said,
positive evidence
in
for
this
your
statement,
claim.
I literally just said I think, and I am allowed to think. And
Yeah,
you
you're
keep
allowed to
saying,
think,
do you have
but you're
positive
making a
evidence?
claim.
I have tons of positive evidence that I'm allowed to think. Yes.
I agree. You're allowed to think.
Okay. So
Nobody's disputing whether or not
yeah, but
Candace
like
Owens is allowed to think. What I'm asking is
but
you have
what's your issue then? What is your issue with the statement?
evidence.
I think that Israel is involved.
Because you made a claim. And he's asking you if you have any reason, any actual evidence to back up that claim, Candace.
I do.
That's not just what you said. You said
I did
that
say I
it's with full confidence.
Yes.
You would think that if you had full
Can you have confidence
confidence
to think when you think?
if I said, for instance, I think I'm going to be late to work, right, with full confidence, I would say my evidence for that is that I'm 20 minutes away and I need to be there in 5.
Andrew.
That's how you would know whether or not you had full
I'm just
confidence.
going to tell you something.
Hang on, let me finish.
Sure.
If it was the case that I said I have full confidence I'm going to be late to work, I would say my evidence that I'm going to be is that work is 20 minutes away, right, and I have to be there in 5. So I have full confidence. That's why I would think that. So I'm asking, if you think that Israel and France were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and you say with full confidence, I'm just asking for the evidence, or at least walk me through the mindset of why it is that you could think that with
I
evidence.
actually don't have to walk you through why I think. I can give you something that I think with full confidence. I think with full confidence that you know you lost the substance of this debate, and now you're moving toward things that I have said that I.
What? She cannot be serious right now. Like, is she, this woman is full on delusional.
Think, which I can do. I'm
They're
allowed to think
pertinent to
that.
this debate.
It's not exactly pertinent to this
It's
debate.
100% pertinent.
It's not pertinent because our debate
These are claims
claims
made about Charlie Kirk's assassination. That's the complete substance of the debate.
No, actually, would you like to remind him of what our debate claims actually were?
And would you like to remind
You
you
said-
said I could ask you about any of these things
I
to my
said
heart's
feel
content?
free, but you do not get to structure how I'm allowed to reply or ask me
I'm
why
not
are you allowed to
structuring how you're
think.
allowed to reply. I'm just asking you direct questions.
I have full confidence that you do not feel that you represented your claim well. And so now what you came
That's
prepared
nice.
to
I just
do is
wanna
to
know-
present yourself like a professor of
I
fallacies.
just want to know.
And to say, you're not allowed to say that. You can't. It's
You
my
can say
podcast.
whatever you want.
Well,
Nobody's
I said
disputing that.
It
I'm
It
asking-
seems like you are disputing
I'm
it.
asking
I think that
specifically
when this
why
is
you
all
think
said
that.
and done, I've already explained to you. I explained at the beginning of this
Mm-hmm.
why I
didn't.
think Israel is ultimately going
France.
to be proven to have involvement in this. I just explained to you in the middle, and now
she's
you're wanting
losing
me
so
to
bad
structure
right
the
now.
sentence or provide evidence. You don't have to. You're just allowed to think. And I've explained to you my thought process. I don't need to structure it in a sentence. If you feel like a professor today, you picked the wrong day.
Don't you think that like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people would want to know what Candace Owens' positive evidence for why it is
No, I
that
don't-
Israel and France were involved in the most traumatic public assassination of Gen Z's lifetime is?
That's why they watch my podcast.
So you're just going to drip to them? Like, here's why
It's
I
not
think
dripping.
that?
She thinks
Every
that
time
was
we
a
come
win.
across any of these discussions, they're watching this in context and they know why I'm saying it. So, for example, when you're bringing up, well, Candace, where's your evidence for France doing this? I just told you someone who was high ranking in the French government, right?
Who's nameless?
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
But
So there's good reason to
so it's not
doubt
a conspiracy, though, if I then took it to the federal government. Like, you can't just go out there making a claim to the federal government. You get in trouble for making false statements and things of that nature. So, and then you go, well, I'm going to probe that. Well, how can you probe that? This happened
I
to
can
me.
ask you, well,
This
that's
is
not
my
what I'm probing
podcast.
specifically.
This is my podcast. I am sharing my life and my experiences and what has happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And you're basically coming in like you're going to, regulate how I'm allowed to say
Nope,
it, if
I'm
I'm
not
allowed
trying to
to
regulate
say it.
anything. I'm
Well,
asking
you're-
very
you're
pertinent
sound-
questions.
He's not doing any of that. All he did was ask her, what evidence do you have for that claim? A question she still hasn't answered.
Being a bit like a professor trying to regulate and say, Candace,
You sound very
can't say, I
defensive
think.
and like you just don't want to answer questions.
I did answer your question 3
You
times. I just
literally-
didn't say it in the way that you wanted
you
me to
just
say
kind of
it.
obfuscate and you run away from it. But I would like for you to
let's
actually
just go through
focus
every
on it.
clip that you guys have prepared because it's pretty. I think with full confidence, people will recognize the strategy that you're trying to employ. So let's get to the next clip you have prepared.
Sure. They can pull up whatever clips
whatever
they want.
it is that you guys have prepared. So
But I would still, on this point, I just want to make sure that you have full confidence that France and Israel were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
I think in
and
the
you
end,
have no evidence for it at all that you'll give us.
Well, I already did tell you where it came from. Like I said, I can explain it to you. I can't understand
Did
it for you.
Did that same higher up tell you that he was going to kill, or that France killed Charlie Kirk, or just that you were in danger?
They said that the French Foreign Legion was involved and on the ground that day. I've already said that. You just don't like hearing it.
No.
Candace, just out of curiosity,
Yes.
when you pass down that message to a Tulsi or Trump,
Tulsi's office, yes.
Tulsi's office, are you giving them who told you that, or you're just saying, here's what I heard from somebody?
I have this information.
Sure.
And of course, if they wanted to open a file on it, which I thought was quite mysterious, that Trump's office never got back to us. It was kind of weird about maybe they're.
Of course, Trump's office didn't get back to you because you went to the federal government with a claim that the French Foreign Legion and the Israeli government were involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk. And the evidence you presented to them was anonymous person told me. Like, at the end of the day, they call me Iron. Thank you for the sub. Thank you for the prime sub. But that's what she just said. Her evidence was random anonymous person told me. And she's wondering why the president's office didn't get back to her on that claim.
They're not the correct office to. I did receive a response from Tulsi Gabbard's office, but I don't think there was ever any investigation into what.
Sorry, I have to thank you. They call me Iron for the 5 subs, for gifting 5 subs. Thank you so much. They call me Iron. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Got it. So the call was, hey, I've been
Emailed.
told the email.
Yes.
Email was, I've been told
I have
somebody
information, that the French Foreign Legion was on the ground during Charlie's assassination, and that, it was a lot of information, but
you didn't give specifics who it was from.
not in the first email because I figured they would
Perfect.
Yeah.
So if they do contact you,
100,
are you
yes.
comfortable giving 100% who it is?
I would absolutely give them as much information
can I
as
ask
possible.
a question? If whoever's the U.S. government, why are you not?
Yes, it's very strange to me.
So if that's the case, now they may respond back and say, we did, that's their position.
I did. That's why I did it in writing.
And so I'm glad that's the case because so if they
and
do
right
ask
away in
you,
Trump's office, Margot got right back to me. She said it was on his desk. So he has that. There's no.
And if you do say that and they contact that individual, obviously you don't have to leak your sources here. Is there enough credibility where that person would be willing to talk to them and explain to them exactly what their sources are?
Yes.
Okay.
It seems reasonable. And so why he's asking me to defend that is
I'm not. Never
Okay.
did.
I think those are two different things. That's more
Two
something I'm
totally
asking
different
to say,
claims.
why are they not reaching out to you?
I've asked that many times on my podcast.
What do you think about that, Andrew?
What?
The fact that she emailed, she gave it, and nobody reached out to want to contact the
They
source that she's
probably
willing
didn't think
to
it was
share.
actionable, is my guess. But even if they did think it was actionable, great. Every lead should be followed up on within the confines of what's rational and reasonable.
Is it fair
Why didn't they reach out to her? Probably because there was no evidence of it.
to say that this is maybe a different individual because this is a person that was involved with TPUSA
Well, we
and had a
don't-
relationship
Wait,
with Charlie?
who?
No, her relationship. Like this isn't just anybody. So if an average person
No, Candace Owens, who was fired from TPUSA years ago, is not a credible person. No, Patrick. It doesn't hold any more credibility because Candace Owens, who, again, I will remind you, was fired from Turning Point. No, she's not more credible and we need to listen to her. She was fired. She made comments about Hitler and was told to resign.
sends it, yes.
Yeah, but we don't know who the source is. We don't know any
Well,
of
then
this.
if you were in that department, wouldn't you want to, even you assign it to one of your guys
There's no
to
guarantee
say,
they didn't look into it. How do we know? We don't know.
How could they
No,
if
how
they didn't
could
come
they if
get
she didn't give it
the
to them?
information, more of the information? Because it
And
was a
by the way,
long file.
Yeah.
This is a separate, this has
Did
got
you
nothing
send
to
them
do
the
with the
guy's
debate.
name?
This is more on
Well, I sent the email assuming that's, you kept saying like you go and you make a report, if think they're going to come back to you and say, hey, what's more information? We're investigating this. And that didn't happen, and which is what I raised.
No,
I
I'm
found
asking,
that,
did you send them the
especially
source of
because
the
this was at
claim?
a time where they were saying that they wanted to explore every possible lead. I even texted Dan Bongino.
But did you-
So actually, it was three offices.
Let me ask
the
one question and then
executive
I'm gonna come to
office,
you.
Dan Bongino,
Yeah.
and Tulsi Gabbard's office.
Okay, so a follow-up to that is the following. If they contact you to say, is that specifically to the French government or Israel's involvement in the killing of Charlie Kirk?
That wasn't about
Those
Israel.
are two separate things.
That wasn't about Israel. It was
Okay,
they were
got it.
saying the French foreign, that person as a part of it was saying that it was the French Foreign Legion that was on the ground that
So
day.
I'm surprised
And
they haven't
think
called you.
Then I find that to be very strange too.
I do as well.
Because who would want to make a report? Like, I mean, I've never made a report with the federal government.
Let me
he
ask
did-
one question.
but
Let me
when he
just
did
ask one
send
question.
it-
Let me just ask one question, and then I'm going to bring it to you.
Sure.
The question is in regards to, I've not seen that clip, so I'm seeing it now. I'm full confidence. I believe that Israel and French was involved. Is that also based on a source that somebody told you that Israel was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, or is that a gut feeling?
So in terms of Israel, I mean, what I've said is what I publicly have said here. I do think that at the end of this, we are going to find that Israel was involved. I do. Now, in terms of any of the hard evidence that's been presented, I think this has been a huge problem that a lot of us have had is that they won't even explore anything else that was going on in Charlie's life personally. So if we're not satisfied that Tyler Robinson did this in any way, then every alternative theory should be explored. Other evidence should be brought forward. We've done that in our capacity. Like when people keep saying she has no evidence, it's kind of crazy. I think we've broken like more stories than any news source in the world. I mean, down.
No, you haven't broken any stories. Candace, you haven't broken a single story. You've made accusations and then haven't backed them up by anything.
To pictures, details, police officers, what the dog's name was, because we're not the only people that believe there's a conspiracy here. The police officers that were involved, the many police, sheriff's offices, that were departments that were involved that day, all believe there was a conspiracy. Down to the U.S. Marshals believe there was a conspiracy. They were my sources at the U.S. Marshals were saying,
no, nobody has said, no, none of them have said there's a conspiracy. And now we're going back to her sources at the marshal's office. Nobody in the police force, nobody in the marshals, nobody in the FBI has said they think there's a conspiracy going on here.
and they were basically sent on a wild goose chase that day.
But do you see how you say my sources?
Am I not allowed to have sources?
Well,
Like
the thing is funny.
So is CNN allowed to have
well,
sources?
hang on. I
but
have
we can't-
sources. If I said I have sources that claim none of that's true. In fact, my sources claim that her sources are lying. My sources claim that there is none of them believe that there's a conspiracy. My sources claim all of them really think that Tyler Robinson was a lone gunman. If I just said that as hypothetical, wouldn't you say, what?
Yeah, I think what probably adds weight is like then when I drop photos of the car that no one was supposed to see, people go, okay, her sources are legit. So, and then when what I say is then proven in court.
What picture of a car did she drop that nobody was supposed to see? That never happened also.
And nobody knew those things. People are recognizing that my sources are legit. When I say Charlie was scared in the last days, and then I dropped the text message, which you've just learned about a couple of weeks ago, of him saying he was leaving the pro-Israel cause when everyone was lying about
I didn't say he was scared.
that, then they say, I think Candace's sources are legit. So I think what's happened is I've actually built up a rapport with my audience that it's not vibes and dreams. And that's why they keep watching my content, because like, for example, when I just the other day released the content of the shooter on the roof doing the lateral crawl, then they're going, I don't think these are just vibes. It seems like Candace's sources are legit. So I've proven myself in the market.
Yeah, I'm not sure that would legitimize your sources as being legitimate when it comes to the idea that, oh, they all believe that there's a conspiracy going on, which is actually what your claim is now. How
Well,
would that
I
actually,
was just-
hang on, I'm almost done.
How would that talking to PVD?
How would that
without-
legitimize? Well, it's not his debate. How would it legitimize
Perfect
these
answer.
sources? That even if it's the case that you get some court footage or some things like this, why would it legitimize that your sources are telling you all the marshals believe it's a conspiracy, all the police believe it's a conspiracy, everybody believes it? How would that legitimize?
Well,
any
what
of
I
that?
am saying to you, and you are not forced to believe it. So let me just explain what I was answering here, and I think that you understood what I was saying. Is I have, because people
Candace, this is not a conversation between you and Patrick Bet-David. This is a debate.
trust me, compiled a lot of information and presented it to the public, and this information has been proven true. We've presented photos, we have presented videos, never before seen stuff. The public has never seen it. And so what that does is your audience goes, okay, when she says that she has these sources, clearly she's telling the truth. Now, whether you would then go, well, I'm going to believe her when she says they don't believe, they think that there's a conspiracy, that's up to you. You cannot watch my content. I'm not here to tell you that you have to watch my content.
So it is, her argument really is, trust me, bro. It really is. Her whole argument is, trust me, bro.
Or believe everything I'm saying.
Well, don't you think
But
questioners should get questioned as well?
By who? I'm not committing a crime, am I? By just like saying what I think and collecting
aren't
evidence.
most of the people you ask questions of not actually committing crimes?
But what do you mean they should answer questions where? Like at a police station? Like
no,
what are you
just
saying?
like if you want people to come in and answer questions for you. I have questions about this in the investigation. I have questions about this. I have questions about that. You want them to answer your questions. Doesn't it seem totally fair that you answer back the questions people have for you?
Well, they're not answering our questions. So it's also fair that they don't answer them.
So you're
That's
okay.
why I said
so I
Andrew
wanna,
Colvett should be in this chair. He's not.
But
That's
isn't
his
that a double?
prerogative.
But isn't that a double standard?
No, it's not, because he's not doing it.
Yeah, but what that would still be a double standard. If you're requesting that he does do it, then that seems to infer that you think he owes you answers.
Oh, so inferences are allowed again?
And they never weren't. So that seems to infer that you think that he owes you answers. If that's the case, then don't you owe answers?
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm answering your questions and his questions about, I mean, I'm talking about Andrew Colvett. His position is he's a spokesperson for Turning Point USA. So when the crowd turns against
really
Turning Point
does think she's
USA
winning.
on the basis of a lack of information, or because there has been, I don't know, seeds sown of distrust, I would imagine, and forget answering my questions because it doesn't need to be me.
But aren't you sowing a lot of those seeds of distrust?
Well, I think they're doing a pretty good job themselves, if I'm being honest. You can blame it on Candace all you want.
Well,
people love to do that.
The thing is funny is
people
like,
act like I'm
I think
ground
their
zero.
PR I'll be fair with you.
I'm ground zero of people not
I think-
trusting Turning Point USA.
I think that
You are ground zero of people not trusting. I'm sorry. Has there been a bigger advocate in the history of Turning Point USA, in the history of the existence of Turning Point USA? Has there been a bigger spokesperson for distrusting Turning Point than Candace Owens? Has there anyone in history the history of Turning Point, has there ever been a bigger advocate against trusting Turning Point? I would say no.
There was
Actually
some
kind of a
PR there.
last.
I think there was some PR there. Sure, they could have done better. Absolutely. I'm not disputing any of that. One thing, though, that I want to just directly ask you is, do you actually believe that anybody in TPUSA or Erica Kirk or Erica actually participated, had foreknowledge of, or facilitated the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I'm not going to get myself into a legal pickle here. Everything
No, you made that claim on your show. That is a very, very, very valid question.
I've said is on my podcast.
How
I
would that
think
get you in a legal
I think
pickle?
firmly that if I was the investigating officers, I would seat them all and I would ask questions. I would at this phase. I would.
Okay,
So
well, what does
using a
that mean?
hypothetical.
Does that mean that you do think so?
I think it was not a sufficient investigation into what we know to be true of 80% of homicides. It's usually conducted by someone you know, right? And the fact that that was never even considered, that like I said earlier, the backpack was returned.
How do you know that was never considered?
Because they gave back the backpack as just one example. They gave back the backpack. They gave back the.
That doesn't show a conspiracy.
Well, I mean, it shows that the police trusted everybody and didn't just hold things up for a second.
They ruled them out as suspects.
That quickly. I'm not comfortable with that investigation. It's a pretty big organization. There's a $100 million incentive. This is
What $100 million incentive?
what I'm saying is his organization, like it had grown to, I think it was 100 million.
Plus per year.
Yeah, per year. If that's something you want to factor
Yeah,
in,
but
that's
what was
fine.
Your
what-
team wants to play video, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
There's a video they want to play of Candace
Please
said it's
make this a
impossible
good
to
video.
not believe Erica's complicit. If you guys want to play that video.
Could also just ask.
And
them,
so
but
right
sure.
now, their guys are going out and they're going to look for evidence. And then by May, which is fortunately around the corner, then she'll see what they found. So what the F is that performance? How could you sit up there and say, yes, I 100% believe Tyler Robinson did it. That right there is why it is impossible for me to think that Erica Kirk is not complicit somehow. Because what?
Those two thoughts actually don't even follow. How would it be the case that even if Erica Kirk did believe that Tyler Robinson was 100% responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk, let's just say she believed it with every fiber of her being, believed all the evidence, because she did. She just actually did. Would it then follow that somehow she's complicit in his death?
I didn't say complicit in death.
Yeah, yes, you did.
You added those two words.
Okay, so what's she complicit in?
Yes. So sowing this narrative that Tyler Robinson is guilty. So you're chopping up clips. Like I said, you didn't have the confidence
Okay,
coming
well,
into
No, he didn't chop up any clip. He played it straight through.
tell me,
debate, so
what
now
does
you're
that mean?
chopping
What
it
does
up.
complicit mean?
We are showing a clip of her on Barry Weiss, which I can't remember the date that she did that interview. And Erica, when she is asked, "Are you one? You know, do you feel with 100% certainty that Tyler Robinson did this?" And she says, "I do." Then again, context matters. I sit down with Erica for 4 hours under the assumption that she had some evidence, right? Like I'm like, I actually, this is why I did not engage in any like Erica, everyone's questioning what she's wearing and all this stuff. I was like, I'm going to wait here because I don't know, just it feels weird to think that, did I think that some of her mannerisms were weird and stuff like that? Yeah, but that's not, you can't convict somebody on weird mannerisms. And then when I sat down with her and I was expecting for her to say, well, you know, I'm obviously the victim on the case and we got to see the shot, you know, taken or this or that, whatever it is. Great. You know, that's why she has that much confidence 2 months ago. And when I sat down with her, it was nothing. It was nothing. Okay. So this is a conversation.
How would that make her complicit?
Complicit. And again, you said complicit in the death of Charlie Kirk.
Complicit in what? Yeah.
Well, if you let me finish.
This is the insanity. She said Erica was complicit. If she wasn't talking about being complicit in Charlie's death, what was she saying that Erica was complicit in? That's what he's trying to ask her. She said that Erica was complicit. Complicit in what?
Finish my sentence. I could tell you that. But my point being is that then you take a look at this and you go, okay, well, this is weird. Why would you have this confidence? And then when you sit across from somebody and you say, okay, great, I want to go out there and defend you now. I want people to know that you can't say this stuff publicly, but you know more things. And she just blanks. And then she says, well, I'm going to call the lawyer. And she called the lawyer. Again, all of this is on my show. So out of context clips is not going to work because I know what I say on my show.
Okay.
And again, I really hope Andrew just goes back and says, hey, complicit in what? What are you claiming Erica is complicit in?
So we call her lawyer, and her lawyer says to us, she calls him on the phone, pardon me, and it's me, her, and Justin Strife. And I'm like, okay, great. What do you guys have? He goes, well, we don't have anything yet. We're not at that phase yet. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't have anything? And he says, well, don't you know how it works? It's a probable cause hearing. So basically the state says that they're going to bring this forward. And now our people go out and they look for the evidence to assert that Tyler Robinson is guilty. And so I asked her directly, her lawyer directly, the phone's in between us. I'm like, wait, so just so I'm clear, you haven't seen anything that the public hasn't seen? And he says, no. So I'm going back in my head and I'm going, okay, so why is Erica saying with such a degree of certainty, like she was sent out to convince the public and people bit, by the way. I remember even Megyn Kelly was like, let's wait. She's going to have access to things. I did think she had access to things that we didn't have. Why express that confidence to the public as opposed to just being like, we don't know yet. I feel confident he's involved. They made an arrest.
I don't understand. How would any of this make her complicit and in what?
Well, I've already told you. She's complicit in trying to fool the public into thinking this is some open and shut case.
How is she trying to fool the public into this? If she believes
Like, don't look anywhere else.
If she believes that Tyler Robinson killed Kirk, if she believes that, how would that be complicit in anything?
I do.
Are
believe,
you saying that you think she doesn't believe it?
I don't believe that at that stage she sat down with Barry Weiss that's what she believes. No, but that's my opinion.
Right.
So her argument is, I don't believe Erica believed what she said. That's, again, on what evidence other than vibes? Holy shit, she really just admitted, oh, I made that accusation against Erica because I didn't believe what she said she believed. I don't believe she actually believed it. That is vibes. That is trust me, bro. That is Charlie came to me in a dream type of bullshit.
Right. But so when you just say complicit, you just mean she believes that Tyler Robinson killed Kirk? That's it?
That's what we were talking about. That's why I said if your strategy was to dice up clips and take it out of context and make it
No
seem like I
strategy.
said
You
she
can
was
explain
complicit.
everything.
Yeah, but then why not just play the full thing? Like why?
Because we don't have like infinite amounts of time, I'm guessing. You probably don't want to
Well,
watch.
I'm going to go back to my theory that you didn't feel confident that you could defend your claim that it was overwhelming evidence. So now you're trying to move towards doctored clips and getting
Well,
me to
there's no
respond to
doctored
it.
anything. I'm just making sure that we got this right.
Yes,
That what you're actually
yes,
saying
I
is
do
that
believe
Erica is just complicit in believing
and
it.
when I re-examined her actions backward, because I did not have this perspective of her at the beginning, which is why it's so funny to me that you guys make it seem like I'm ground zero. People thought Erica was sus from day I forgive him. And I was not a part of that. I did not lean into that. I did not contribute to that. I was getting actually terrible messages from my fans being like, Candace, you and Charlie always say to go with your intuition. You won't address this, how we all feel about her. Things changed for me when I saw that Zoom call. I will tell you that for sure. And the fact that she lied to me. So I sat across from her and, I wanted to have that conversation publicly, but they're probably grateful they didn't do it publicly. She told me some lies. And so the next thing that happens naturally when somebody lies to you, you go, when any person lies to you, whether it's a toddler, people only lie when they're trying to obscure something else.
Have you addressed what that lie was?
Yeah, I've talked about, we have a list of lies that we've been told by Charlie. We can find that,
In
I'm
the
sure.
meeting with her.
Well, no, I didn't want her to cage up. I didn't want to do this. And
See, she lied to me. I'm not going to tell you what she lied to me about, but she lied. And you'll just take my word for that because sources or vibes or dreams.
And because I didn't know what to expect. Like I didn't know if she was going to be like, I'm so overwhelmed with everything, and I don't know who to trust at the organization. And I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I didn't know. I didn't want to.
Like, you're going to have to watch my podcast.
Before anything happened with Charlie, how close were you and Erica?
Not very close.
So there's not a relationship.
No, I would say it's totally normal. Like, it's not like there was any issues at all. We were always nice to each other. It just is our life went to a different phase, right? So Charlie and I hitting the ground.
That's because Erica was fucking the man you were in love with.
Running around, traveling 4 days a week. Now I get married. I find love of my life. I get married and I get pregnant. I haven't stopped being pregnant. And what you want out of life changes. You don't want to be running around for 4 days a week and traveling on a plane nonstop. You suddenly want to start building at home and live. I was desiring that suburban life.
Did you guys ever do the double dates? You, George, her, and Charlie. Was there ever double dates between the four of you?
I was engaged to George quickly. We were planning our wedding. I was kind of in my bubble with George. George traveled with me and Charlie, but Erica and him were just starting to date at the beginning of 2019. George and I were planning our marriage. So George really got to know Charlie. I wouldn't say that I really got to know Erica. I was just rooting for them because I knew how much Charlie wanted to, find love. And so I was kind of his wing woman throughout that phase. And I was just happy. And I never was under the impression, obviously, that they were going to get married when they were dating. So it wasn't like I was conscious, I really need to get to know this person. And so it was just kind of normal that by that time, because of where I was in my life, that I was.
By the way, Candace Owens was neither invited nor attended Charlie Kirk's wedding.
Wasn't spending
her best
any
friend.
time getting to know Erica per se.
So the complicit part about Erica to you, is that a gut feeling? You think
it transformed when she lied.
You can take the lead. I'm just asking questions.
Yes.
If you want to go for it.
I actually don't. I still don't understand what you think she's complicit in.
Yeah. So when I say Erica's complicit, that's my opinion. When you tweeted Erica's too retarded to kill her husband, would you like to explain how you developed your evidence, your positive evidence for the fact that Erica was retarded?
Yeah, sure. So I just think all women are retarded.
Oh, so you're allowed to just say stuff. Who knew? So and by the way, what dramatically transformed your opinion of Erica after going to the headquarters? Because you were pretty hostile about.
I wasn't hostile towards them.
You don't think calling somebody too retarded?
No, come on. That's like normal tongue-in-cheek stuff for me online.
Oh, you're being tongue-in-cheek.
Usually when I call someone retarded, I'm being tongue-in-cheek, yeah. Like, for instance, you got supporters, I mean, if you want to use the same exact argument, you would take a supporter like Owen Benjamin. He called you bad names and called your husband bad names. You're just like, well, that's no biggie?
I've never answered him on anything that he said. I'm saying that you now are her biggest defender. So do you still think
I'm not her biggest defender.
Do you still think she's too retarded?
No. I didn't know Erica Kirk. I'd never met her before.
Okay, but you had an issue with Turning Point being led by a bunch of fembots talking about the feminist angle.
Still do.
And then suddenly you go to the headquarters.
Still think it's a terrible idea.
At least I can respect Andrew for that. Like, he is a shit talker. He acknowledges he's a shit talker. She said, oh, do you have a problem with them being run by a bunch of fembots? He said, yes, I still do. Because he's a shit talker. That's who he is. He trolls people online. He fucks with them online. He doesn't build himself up as some amazing investigative reporter who's cracking the case. He's a online shit talker. He's a debater. He's not going to hide from the fact that he talks shit.
You go into the headquarters. Mm-hmm. Now all of a sudden you've got text messages that you're sharing with them. You say that you and your wife are getting involved with management.
No. I'm not involved in any management at Turning Point USA.
Well, I'm pretty sure.
Just to be clear, what Andrew is involved in at Turning Point, he went and gave a single class on debating. That's what he did at Turning Point. He's not part of the management. He doesn't work for Turning Point. He went and gave a single class on debating. And I'll tell you from people that attended his class, he did a shitty job. He didn't even do a good job.
Sure, there is a clip of you where you say that your wife went to their recent conference and sat down. And then when you were on Joe Rogan.
No. Hang on. I'll explain what happened just so that you understand.
Yeah.
So I was invited there to do some debate training. That's literally what I was invited there to do.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
On recommendation. So I went down and did some debate. That's the first time I ever met anybody at TPUSA.
Okay. And then you said you sat down with Erica.
Well, I didn't sit down to her. I talked to her in a hallway.
So you didn't sit down and speak with Erica?
No, I didn't have like some sit down long conversation. We talked in a hallway.
Okay. Is that when you gave her the hug?
Yeah, gave her the hug right there. My wife did too. We were both very sorry for what happened.
Okay, so at what point did you start receiving text messages from that you cited in your opening statement?
Oh, I just reached out to TPUSA. And
so now we're back to Andrew and nothing about what Candace said. Sweet.
Said, I'm prepping for a debate. Is there anything that's pertinent that I can use here?
Do you find it interesting that people have been asking for, basic answers to questions, and you're saying that you walked into their headquarters and reached out and they instantly...
It's amazing, isn't it? If you reach out in good faith and you're not demonizing them and saying that they're complicit in the murder of people's deaths, that perhaps they're actually willing to release things to you that are pertinent, other than thinking that, perhaps you're diabolical.
Well,
and just to be clear, just so anyone understands this, anyone can walk up to Turning Point USA and ask for a tour. Like I did it when I went there for Charlie's memorial. I went the day after and walked through Turning Point. Met the people there. Anybody can do that. They have people on staff to take you on tours of Turning Point. So going to Turning Point is not a crazy thing.
I don't know. I feel like if I was going to release that information, I didn't demand that it be released to me. I actually never demanded that it be released. I just simply said that this is what was going on in the last 48 hours. Maybe to the media, they could release it. They could release it to PBD. They decided to release it to a guy that called Erica too retarded in June.
So what?
Yeah, I just think it kind of shows that Turning Point is sending you as their horse.
Well, I don't know.
They don't have the courage to have the conversation. If they were just releasing something.
What do you mean they don't have the courage to have the conversation? I will remind everyone, when Candace started making these accusations, Turning Point, and Candace said, I will debate this anywhere, anytime, any place. Turning Point said, cool, come to our studio and you'll get to ask us questions to our face on live stream. And she said no.
in
Let
good
me ask you
faith
a
to
question.
answer
Do
questions.
you have any
I've never
evidence of that
demanded.
claim?
It's not evidence that
No.
you're sharing your opinion
No.
that she's too retarded. I can't share my opinion that I think it's going
Well,
to
I've never
register
met the
as
chick.
really obvious to the public. That rather than presenting that throughout the course of everybody wanting to know what Charlie was going through his last days, they decided to give it to you to come to my house as some sort of a surprise.
Well,
do you think the public's not smart enough to
do
see
you
through
think,
that?
Do you think that if you
talking
know
about terrible PR,
if you know that there's a huge debate that's coming up that's going to be probably one of the most viewed that year, and one of the debaters calls you and says, "I'm taking this position. This is the position that I feel like there's the most evidence for," and Candace also agreed to answer many of my questions in regards to this. So if you got pertinent evidence here that I can use, I definitely like take a
But
look.
what is the-
It was actually amazing to me. It really was actually amazing to me how if you approach people in good faith and just say, "Hey, I'd actually like to know what the facts and details are around this," they actually do talk to you. It's amazing.
Yeah, I just do not believe that they are doing this in good faith. I don't believe that anything you have done has demonstrated that's in good faith. It demonstrates that you walked into Turning Point USA headquarters and came out a different man because you were critical of the organization. You
Still am.
were critical of Erica, and now you're sitting here going,
Well,
Candace,
first
I
of
want to
all,
interrogate you for
have
an
you ever
hour and a
been-
half about everything
hang on,
you've
hang on.
ever
Have
said
you ever
about
been
Erica.
critical of somebody that you hadn't met and then you meet them and you're less critical of them?
Yes. This is what Bill Maher always says. Everybody's crazy until you talk to them. Yes, he had a critical view of Erica Kirk and Turning Point USA. And then he sat down and met with them and was less critical of them. It's amazing how meeting someone and getting to know them, yes, will make you less critical of them if they're not insane.
And the inverse has happened too. I was
You're right,
less critical
exactly.
about Erica, and now I'm more
But I'm
critical about
asking
her.
you, isn't it the case that there's people you've been critical of and then you've met them and you're less critical after you meet them?
Too retarded. I feel like if you think that she's dumb and let's just talk about your record. I mean, you're a person that has spent time in what most people would term to be the manosphere, talking about well, yeah.
I debate against the
against feminists
and red pillars.
Okay.
And a lot of the actual. So I'm a Christian ethicist.
And then
always
you
take
go
the
on to
ethics
Joe
position.
Rogan and you're like soft explaining away why Erica had to take over Charlie's company when they don't have a parent at home. So now you're a feminist icon. Like you just go into the headquarters and you just shift all of your perspectives.
That's a bizarre criticism. Like nobody's in the bigger girl boss position than you.
Yeah, I'm actually no.
You're in the
this
biggest
is-
of the girl boss positions. Like you don't have to do this.
Okay.
You just do this. You could definitely not do it at all and be fine, right? But you still do.
I would say that you are making a comparison that cannot be compared because Erica's husband was just assassinated in front of the world.
Which
The
makes sense why
parents-
she would take the organization
No,
over.
that it makes sense why you would go home to your kids, just so you know.
Wait a second. That's bizarre.
Yeah,
You
because
wanna
they don't have a
protect-
parent. They don't have a
you wanna
parent, and they've
protect-
just suffered a trauma. You don't go into the office.
You
6
want to
days later.
protect your husband's legacy,
Yeah,
right?
no.
And you're trying to find some
The
new
legacy
normal.
is his children, not the organization.
It's both.
No,
Yes, it is both. It's totally rational and reasonable.
Nope.
She's actually criticizing the fact that Erica followed Charlie's wishes and protected his organization. That's really her criticism?
Believe that it would be both Turning Point USA, that is part of Charlie Kirk's legacy. He worked his whole life
I think
for
this is
it.
why people think she's sus.
And his children. Now, for you though to say that anybody's a girl boss, right? That's like the pot calling the kettle black.
That came out of your mouth.
No, that was you. You brought up girl boss.
Girl boss came out of your mouth.
Yeah, I'm telling you that you brought up this idea that I'm defending some feminist nonsense. I'm not. I'm pointing out that they're by the way,
she's not qualified
always
to take over his company.
There's always objective outliers to each situation. In fact, it's the exception that
I bet you I could tell you who Candace thinks is qualified to take over Turning Point.
proves the rule. And the interesting thing here is like, I'm still just as critical of feminism inside of TPUSA as I've always been. And I'm just as critical of any pro-Zionist position as I've ever been. None of that's ever changed. By the way, I would think it's the most rational, reasonable thing on planet Earth to do if you wanted to actually see an organization change, to try to work with leadership or reach out to leadership to try to do so. Doesn't that make the most amount of sense?
I would like to state for the record that I think Erica is underqualified to run the organization.
Sure.
And on the more emotional aspects,
So Andrew Wilson says Erica Kirk is unqualified. He's a hater. Candace Owens says Erica Kirk is unqualified. And what? That's gospel? That's gospel? Like, you recognize she's all like, this is insane.
Agree with what seems to be a majority opinion, because I'm not gonna say it's scientific, that any woman that would leave her kids and go right into the office after their husband was publicly assassinated does not have their priorities straight.
Okay, well, I understand that you can have those criticisms,
Yeah.
but I'm not understanding still how that would make her complicit.
I don't have to keep answering the same question.
Okay,
so
but
let's
do you
let's
feel
get,
like you
team
got
is
an answer
asking
to how
your-
it's complicit?
Your team is asking to play a clip. So if we
Okay.
want to play this clip to just finish this segment on the Erica Kirk.
I will say Candace is doing an amazing job of making the conversation go as far away from her having to answer for her claims as possible. Like she is doing a wonderful job of not having to answer anything about any of the claims she's made. If her goal is to just play the clock and run this shit as long as she can so that she doesn't have to answer for her insane theories, she is doing a wonderful job of that.
topic, we can spend some time on that as well. So
Okay.
if you guys are ready in the back, we're ready.
and causing that 30-06 diameter, as would happen with a patent explosives, as we've demonstrated to you in the past, it accidentally, because of how Charlie was crouched, went up and hit his neck. And that ruined everything. That ruined everything. It was problematic. It's the reason why Terrell then had to scramble to get the cameras down, because they were never supposed to see it. They could have said reasonably that a 30-06 got eaten by Charlie, much more reasonably, obviously, than saying that the chicken bones in his neck stopped it because he ate vegetables. They panicked. That was what, then that's why Terrell's nervous on the phone with me. Again, this is my theory, and I am now very much sticking to it. Okay. They panicked. It's the reason Erica had to step out. That's why she would have gotten on the phone with Terrell so quickly, because I was going, why is Terrell saying, well, I didn't want Erica to relive, oh, that's why I did it. He didn't have an answer. He was nervous. It was crazy. But he acknowledged that he spoke to Erica immediately. Why did you speak to Erica immediately?
Okay, I don't mean this to be weird, right? But did that make sense to anyone? YouTube, Twitch, TikTok? Did that make sense to anyone? That was the ramblings of a crazy woman.
So do you believe that there was a shape charge that killed Charlie?
Hey, can I ask you why you keep starting clips mid-sentence?
Probably to get to where the clip is.
No, it doesn't seem that way, because you can always start a clip at the beginning of a sentence. Like you're just it's completely out of context.
Wait,
But
I didn't
so
prepare the
in
clips, but
yeah, I think
I
it's
didn't,
like you
but
were
it's
kinda
fine
ready.
to ask it to back
Like
it up.
I said, I don't need to say what's happening here because the internet will clock it. But in this episode, we are now going, and that's why I said we're now going to look at some alternative theories. I made it very clear that this was a theory that I didn't want to look at. This is, I believe, because I don't have every episode on my head, but I'm pretty sure this is an episode where we presented the evidence that was in the car, the photos of what was in the car, right? And so we are now inferring off of what we see in the car that this very much does look like that we see a bunch of shattered Rode microphone, which was an early theory that I was actually interested in, but couldn't really wrap my head around what was the shape charge explosive. As I say at the beginning of the episode, it was just not my expertise. And I was concerning myself with timelines and stories and statements that didn't make sense. Without question, Terrell Farnsworth is someone who made me think that we were missing a big part of the story. So I'm walking them through John Bray's theory. If we started to
No. You said you believed it.
insert what we are actually observing with the evidence that we're taking a look at and what took place that day. So we're completely in the hypothetical right here. And you're...
No, we're not, Candace. You said you believed this. We're not in the hypothetical. This is not, this is something that could have happened. You literally said you believe this in that clip.
now
Oh,
introducing
if
this.
that's the case, if you're just hypothetically
Yes,
exploring it,
and
that's why I'm just
why
asking directly.
Yes, but that's obvious when you watch this episode. So that's why it feels like I'm in the middle of an interview with CNN when they like pull up random clips and they're
No, I'm
like,
just making
"What's
sure."
this? What's this?"
So her defense is, you have to watch my whole episode. Yeah, she literally said it's my theory. She didn't say it was somebody else's theory. In that clip, she said it's my theory. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did she not say it's my theory? Am I wrong? Or that's what she said, right? Did I hear it wrong? Okay, good. Yeah, I thought she said it was my theory. Okay, but now it's somebody else's theory, somebody else's hypothetical.
You watch the episode, you
I'm
know
just
what it is.
trying to make sure. Do you think that your alternative theory?
I think John Bray's theory should be explored. Yes.
Okay. Do you think that Charlie?
It's not John Bray's theory. She said it's my theory. All right. Yeah, hold on, wait. I got to mark this down because, again, I'm going to make videos about this. Because she said it's my theory.
Kirk was killed with an explosive.
I think that is a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
And it
good.
should be explored. He's done a lot of work on it. John Bray has done good work, and I think that that's why that theory is now starting to gain steam since we released the second set of the photos of what was in the car. I think it's viable.
So this was the big thing I wanted to get into with you on the explosives too.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about that theory that's actually compelling to you? So I looked into the explosive mic theory multiple times.
Mm.
And the biggest thing that stood out to me is there's no explosion. there's literally no explosion. In fact, there's videos when the shot rings out that kills Charlie. At least it sounds like a shot to me. People are actually like looking up towards where the gun is being fired. They're looking away.
Just somehow got suspended.
Where's the?
We just somehow got suspended on TikTok for hate speech and hateful behavior. Just got suspended for hate speech and hateful behavior. Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised that we just got suspended on TikTok for hate speech and hateful behavior? Where in here have we had any hate speech or hateful behavior? That's so surprising. Wow. I'm so surprised that just happened. Wow. That is so surprising. Unbelievable. Unreal. So there we go. Hey, they call me Iron. Thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs you just gifted. Thank you. Thank you. They call me Iron. I appreciate that. Appeal not approved. Hold on, let's see. They
formed your opinion of Erica after
this is
going to
this is apparently the clip of why I got suspended.
quarters because you were pretty hostile about.
I wasn't hostile towards him.
You don't think calling somebody too retarded?
No,
is
come on. That's like normal tongue in.
They're going off the fact that he used the R slur, that he said retarded in the video. They suspended my live access. That was the hate speech and hateful behavior. Wow. That is unreal. That's what they're giving me a suspension for. And I'm banned for 3 days. That is unbelievable. Unreal. All right, let's go back to it.
The actual explosion.
Well, for every person that you say looks away, there's going to be a person that was looking forward. We have former Marines that have gotten on and said, it looks to me like there's an explosion under his shirt, right? You obviously saw Rob O'Neill go on to, I'm forgetting which platform it was, where he said, it's the first thing I thought was it looked
Rob
like.
O'Neill is the man that killed Osama bin
Yeah,
Laden.
and I think he's qualified to say what he believes he saw. We should actually, since they're pulling clips, we should run that clip of Rob O'Neill and what he said and what he
that's fine.
observed and his experience.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take that. And also there were people who immediately spoke to the media that day who said the same thing, that they thought that something happened under his shirt. That was actually, if you go back to like my first episode when I was just observing what I saw with my eyes, I was asking the serious question. I was seriously saying, why is it like somebody shot him from underneath? Why is his shirt moving first? That doesn't make sense to me. And
That's because of air dispersal from the bullet. So whenever a bullet is shot, a projectile shot, you can actually run this experiment yourself if you have a rifle. Take like an empty box of ammunition and put it on the table, and then fire it near the muzzle, and that box will actually blow off the table.
Okay, so question for you. Does that box go sideways off the table?
It can.
It can.
Yeah, it can. It depends on the dispersal.
You 3,000 pounds of energy or 2,000 pounds of energy coming at you. That's how much it carries.
Well, it's not
30-06.
2,000 pounds of energy.
Well, we can fact check that.
That's-
How many pounds of energy is it? A 30-06 being shot 150 yards away. That's a great question for Grok. I'm going to say when we looked at it, it was between 1,500 and 2,000. I'm pretty sure pounds of energy coming at you, and you just go upward and to the side. I don't really buy that. I'm going to just say I just think that that's not
but
possible. It doesn't go through on top of that. So there's another miracle. You didn't get blown backwards. It didn't go through. But I also want to say that you're saying this can happen, and Rob O'Neill is infinitely more qualified, I think, to speak on that.
Why?
And because he's actually shot and killed people.
Why would that have anything to do with anything?
Because
did he slow down all the videos of the people he shot to see if their clothes moved?
Well, why are you able to assert your position as a fact?
Because I'm gonna tell you how projectiles work. He's not even gonna I guarantee you, this guy's not even gonna disagree with what I'm about to say. If it is the case that you have energy and you have mass, and the mass is moving in the air has to go somewhere. It doesn't have a choice.
I think you're totally BSing right now, man.
Not only am I not BSing, I'm telling you the truth. If a bullet is moving in air has to move out of way of bullet.
But maybe not at the bottom of a shirt here. I don't know. I disagree with that. I'd like to say for the record.
She's literally arguing the basics of physics.
I've watched some of you do these sorts of things where you assert something with a lot of confidence, and
you can fact check it.
Fact
check if bullets displace air.
Not about whether it displaced air; it's where it dispersed the air. Underneath his shirt here.
It's not underneath the shirt.
The bullet's this big, and you're telling me it's going to hit his neck,
Candace,
and then
it's not underneath
beneath
the
his shirt. The
it
shirt
starts
puffs.
up here, and the collar's moving, and then you see the wave here as he's moving backwards.
No.
Yeah.
That's not true.
It's not.
And we obviously can't show that clip. I disagree with you.
Okay, I understand you can't show it for TOS purposes.
Exactly.
That's fine.
I disagree with you. People can go watch and make up their own minds. We don't need to debate it. Whether or not that was the first thing I said was, why is his shirt moving first? That didn't make sense to me. It almost looks just like this. It goes across. His necklace breaks first before Charlie even reacts. If you watch it in slow, his necklace breaks first, which I thought was very odd.
Did she just say his necklace breaks first before he reacts? And I found that very odd. So you mean the place where the bullet hit broke before he reacted? That's basic science. Of course it would break before he reacts, because it would hit that before it hits him. Like, we're not on TikTok right now, so I can call that what it is. Retarded.
And then you see a puff here, and then the next thing you know, there's the entry wound on his neck. I would not confidently assert that I see smoke. I've never said it on my platform.
Do you think that an explosion generally has smoke?
Such a good question, because if you're saying there was an explosive, if there was a shape charge in his microphone, it would produce smoke.
I don't think that there's any quality version of video that would get us to be able to answer that question other than Terrell's 4K footage that he has from the...
And yes, Vash, as you said, not even about simple ballistics. It is if you get hit in the face with a rock at high speed, it takes a second or two to react.
Front. So
there's a lot of if you look at the Israeli pagers, it's assumed that it's a similar, if not the same type of explosive that was used inside the pagers that would have been used inside of this road mic.
I think that you should, since you love debating, you should debate someone like John Bray, who's worked on that theory for 11 months, and ask those sorts of questions of how a shaped charge would work. I presented the evidence of what was in the car.
How a shaped charge would work. It has an explosion, which produces smoke.
And I also, at that episode that you're clipping, said John Bray has done an unbelievable amount of work on this.
Mhm.
And I think he has debated a ton of people, actually, regarding this topic. So that's the route that I would send you on. For
Yeah,
purposes of
Hey guys, if you need to understand how explosives work, okay, they do this crazy thing called explode. That's how explosives work. On the principle that they explode.
Fine.
for the purposes of my show, I do believe, to answer your question, that it is a hypothetical. I mean, that it is a theory that should be thoroughly explored.
There's two clips your team wants to show. One of them is the Rob O'Neill clip, since we're on it. So if you guys are ready in the back before we go to ad break, if you want to pull it up, this is a good time to do so.
And good to see you, General Holt.
You too.
A lot of things bother it bothers me about this. Nothing in particular, and it's not like I'm out there saying big lie or conspiracy or someone did it. I'm just saying I've been in a lot of shootings. I've killed more than a handful of people, and this thing looked shady off the bat. I mean, I've killed people closer than I saw the camera, and I've never seen a shirt move like that. That looks like an explosion to me. Just the fact that no one started doing first aid to Charlie Kirk, they were more concerned about getting SIM cards out of cameras, removing cameras, and then getting him off the X somehow. There didn't seem a lot of concern for his life. It seemed like just clean it up. And then, I mean, I've been told they paved it over a couple days later. And then you get Erica Kirk behind all the razzle dazzle, and she's really quick to forgive the alleged shooter, which technically says that was him because I forgive him, but then she can't forgive Candace Owens for having an opinion or asking questions. And they mock people by saying, oh,
She forgave the shooter. That has nothing to do, because Candace Owens is still doing shit to her. You can forgive somebody for an action, but you're not going to forgive somebody who's still doing shit to you. Like if somebody punches me, I can forgive them for punching me. But if somebody continues to punch me every day, I'm not going to be ready to fucking forgive them when they're still punching me every day.
I'm just asking questions. Yeah, I'm a SEAL Team 6 sniper. I'm asking a lot of questions. No one wants to answer them.
And you're able to ask.
He's actually said very little about the explosive there. So
I'm
he
just saying he observed, he said he's shot people up close,
Yeah.
and he's never seen a shirt
No
move
dispute.
like that, and it looked to him like an explosive. That's what he just
dispute,
said.
But when I play that video at full speed, I can't see a shirt moving. I can only see a shirt moving when we slow it way down. So if I'm in real time, I'm just assuming this, right? If I was in real time and I was in like a close quarters combat, you kill somebody situation, and I shot them, would you even see the shirt move?
Well, I just feel like 5 minutes ago you were arguing that it was because the bullet carried air. Now you're saying you don't see the shirt move at all.
Yeah, but that's if you slow it down, the disbursement of air, that's where you're going to see.
The worst part is that little smile from her. She thinks she just made a good point. She thinks she just had a gotcha.
See it, right? It's going to be very quick, very, 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 very fast.
Yeah,
and then
that's
over.
not what I saw, and clearly it's not what he saw, and he thinks that there could be an explosive. So I'm just saying to you,
When you,
people disagree with you. Your opinion's not a fact. That's all.
I
I
understand.
think that's a good place for us to, if we have another a break, and then we can keep answering your questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, sounds good.
Perfect. We'll do a quick 3.5 minute ad break. We'll be back for the last segment.
Cool.
All right, thank you.
All right, I am going to go use the restroom, so we're not going to listen. We are absolutely not going to stop. We are absolutely not going to listen to her ads. I'll be right back. And don't worry, we can skip ahead. We can skip ahead. All right, let's see. It is wild to me that we still have not held Candace to have to defend a single one of her claims. Like, it's wild to me. She still hasn't had to defend a single one of her claims. This is nuts.
All right, fantastic. So, Andrew, if you want to go with your last couple thoughts.
Yeah, so I just have two more clips to play.
Okay.
Right, and then we can do final thoughts. I'm guessing. I feel like we got where we were trying to go, or at least for the most part. So the two other clips, I do want to play the Twigs clip. That one is important to me. The Twigs DNA clip.
Yeah,
and they're gonna pull it up just to have you respond.
Well,
to it.
you don't have to play it because, like, if you're saying that when I initially watched it, I thought that Lance Twigs' DNA, like, he was directly responding to that because the testimony was a bit confusing. They started by saying that they were going to
there was nothing confusing about it.
Like explaining how they got the samples, and they said Lance, Matt, and Amberson. So
I'm going to be real. If you were confused by the testimony about the DNA, it's because you're fucking stupid. I'm just going to be clear about that. Like, I watched that testimony. If that testimony was confusing to you, it's because you're fucking stupid.
All right, Lance, Matt, and Amber Robinson, how they got their DNA samples. And then they started speaking about the gun and said, you know, multiple prints were found on them. And then they moved and they said Lance Twigs's DNA was found on the screwdriver. When I went back and rewatched it, I realized, well, they haven't officially said that Lance or Amber are on the gun. So I think I've already conceded that we don't know that. So I think, like, but if you want to play the clip,
this is directly you saying it is on the gun. Twigs' DNA
I'm saying
is
that
on
I
the
feel
gun.
like I've already said to you, like, I've made that concession. But just to be clear, whenever I make a mistake, I just correct it. So that's why when you were asking me 3 times, I've already said
No. Candace, you are correcting it now because you're being called on it, but you haven't corrected it on your show. You haven't corrected it on X. You haven't corrected it on YouTube. You haven't corrected it at all. You're correcting it now because for the first time, somebody is calling you on your lie to your face.
we don't know yet, and I've corrected that mistake. So if the purpose of you showing this is to demonstrate that Candace makes mistakes sometimes when she's taking in a lot of information and she's reading through legal documents. And
Is she talking about herself in the third person? Are we seriously that level of narcissism? Candace is talking about Candace?
and she's trying to remember
it's not
9-hour
actually.
testimony.
It's just demonstrate something else. It is, in fact, the case. We're all going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm going to make mistakes.
And I've
on
already
the case.
I've already
You're going to make
conceded.
mistakes on the case.
Yeah.
But in this case, you were very adamant that his DNA was on the gun itself.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that it's not ruled out. We know that there's 5+ prints. I've said this so many times. I had to rewatch the testimony again. It's like 9 hours a day. It got very scientific when they were speaking about this. And I think I wrongly extrapolated that they meant all 3 of them were on the prints when the only person they officially named was Matt Robinson. So we don't know yet if Lance Twigs has his DNA on the prints, DNA on the gun officially just yet.
Okay.
I've already conceded that.
Sure.
So
that's fine. And then the last one is one with Erica Kirk.
sure. This is like the Erica Kirk. like, all right,
Well,
Erica.
this just goes
What's the fucking thing to chuckle about there? You've made a lot of claims about Erica. God forbid he show a clip about Erica.
Could you sit down with me, Erica? But we can do it this way.
This goes back to a previous.
Candace, Erica did sit down with you, and you left that meeting and proceeded to trash her, tell her she was complicit in the murder of her husband, and tell her she's not capable of running his organization. She did sit down with you, Candace.
This claim that you made.
Yeah,
That's why
sure.
I'm bringing it up.
Straight to jail, for questioning at least Erica.
I don't care who's mad. I really do not care who wants to be upset after this episode. Really, you will be wasting your breath. You can spend $1 billion on influencers because this is all becoming increasingly inexplicable. You are asking me to be an idiot, actually, and I cannot do that for you. Someone once commented beneath this show that if the situations were reversed and there were this many verifiable lies,
So straight to jail.
Yeah, so that's the show intro, and straight to jail is a monopoly term.
Okay.
Like, you know.
So do not pass go.
Yeah.
Do not collect $200.
Yes, it's
You're going straight to
obviously
jail.
tongue in cheek. And then we explain that actually I think that she should be brought in for questioning because of inconsistencies. So this is the exact episode when I started to think that she should be sat down and questioned. And I still believe that. I still hold the perspective that Erica should be sat down and she should be properly questioned.
Do you know that she hasn't been?
No, actually, that would be a great thing for the spokesperson of Turning Point USA to say that she's already
but
sat
why-
through.
why do they-
I mean, my guess would be she hasn't because they returned everything to her.
Yeah.
But
Why do they owe you that though? Why do
they don't owe me
yeah.
anything. That's my show you're watching. Just, the clips that you're pulling are
Yeah.
from my show. So if I want to say something on my show, I can say that. I
You
didn't say
can.
they owe me something. I don't think that's ever,
You
unless you
can,
have
but
another
if you
clip.
say like you need to be sat down for questioning
Yeah.
and you don't even know if they haven't been, that's strange, right?
Do you know if they have been?
No, I have no idea.
So you're just saying, what if they haven't been?
Yeah, if your
you're just kind of
entire
filling the air
if your
with-
entire thing
just-
is
Oh yeah, tongue in cheek is okay for her, guys. I just want to point out, tongue in cheek is okay when she does it.
Junk.
if you're no, it's not junk. If the query is why is it that Erica Kirk's not being sat down for questioning, but you have absolutely no knowledge whether or not she's been sat down for questioning or not. What that does is it creates an innuendo. It creates an inference. It creates out to the ethos that this should be happening because something's wrong here when you actually don't have the knowledge that anything's wrong at all.
I just think that my opinion is that she should be sat down and questioned.
But you're not sure if she hasn't been.
Yeah, and you're not sure if she has been either. So, like I said, I feel like now you're just kind of filling the
Well,
air
to
with
my
nonsense
knowledge,
because
this
Turning
is
Point's
to-
like, we want
To my
to make
knowledge,
sure that you go in there and
nobody-
you defend Erica. And I have to say, I don't think you've done an extraordinary job
Great,
at that.
but I'm not here to defend Erica. The thing
Well,
is,
I
though,
would
is
say
like
that since 4 out of 5 of the clips that you
Yeah.
had on the ready when
He's not here to defend Erica. That's not the point of this debate.
we asked you guys ahead
Mm-hmm.
of time. I mean, I want to just assert how professionally we have dealt with this debate. As you can see, we have not planned any gotcha clips for Andrew. I expressed to him that what we were going to do was just to use
It's because we're not here to examine Andrew's claims, Candace. We're here to examine your claims.
people for fact checks, and because I might not remember something, or I do remember something and you're saying no, and that is what I think will register to people as very
Well, wait,
fair.
I expressly
we did not take out of
wait, what?
context clips of Andrew
But
to
I
try to
expressly said
please
that
don't
I
cut
was
me
gonna
off.
bring
We did
claims,
not.
right?
No, when you said you were going to bring claims that
Your
you would want me to
claims.
speak to, you didn't say I intend on sitting you down with out of contexted clips to which we said to you before
Out
in an
of
email.
contexted.
Any clips that you want to share with us, send it
Mm-hmm.
over. Let's assert a debate claim so that we can both be ready to respond to it. This just
that's not really what happened.
well. What didn't
yeah,
happen?
this the way that you're framing the exchange, that's
do you
not
mean?
that's not actually what happened. We were negotiating. It is true we negotiated out the claim itself, right? Which one's going to take which position? I wanted to make sure that I had at least an hour and a half on mine, and you got the time for yours to question me. We did. We got through your hour and a half on mine, roughly an hour and a half now on mine. That's basically how this went.
But in the beginning, I did not take an hour and a half to just pull out of context clips with Andrew. I actually debated the substance of what's going on in this trial and this hearing, and I do think that
There's-
I think you fell short of that.
Guys, are we going to spend the remainder of this going, I didn't take you out of context. You took me out of context. Are we really, is it?
There's
really-
nothing
And you-
out of the hang on.
And
There's
I did
nothing
not
here
say
except
I'm
holding
just
you to
going to
account
get
for
you
your
to say
claims.
yes or no. Well, hold on. We
Yeah.
were supposed to be debating the case
This
and
is
whether
part of
or
the
not
case.
there was overwhelming evidence.
These are your claims about the case.
No, you then admitted that now you're getting into another sphere and you want to talk about the transcendentals and things that I've
And we
said.
got through-
And like 4
yeah.
out of 5 of your clips are
Just for you guys asking, the reason why I'm not on TikTok right now is because about an hour ago, Andrew said the word retarded, and I got banned for hate speech and hateful behavior. Which, let's be real, retarded is a fucking medical term. It's a scientific term. But I got banned for 3 days because Andrew said retarded. Fucking awesome.
about Erica Kirk. So the general
I
perception
don't think 4 out of 5 even
is
were.
your Turning Point's horse.
Oh,
I
so you
think
just-
quite
just-
a few
you
of
just-
them were.
you
Was
just-
there 3
just made it
Ericas
up?
or 4?
So you're just making stuff
Can
up?
we get a count of how many were about Erica? I feel
I
like
think it was
Yeah.
3.
3.
3.
Okay,
Yeah,
3. I
3.
said 4.
But those are extraordinary
sorry.
claims, which is why you were asked
Okay,
about them.
well,
right?
okay, but the point being is now you're veering into trying to get me to defend my opinions, and then you completely shirk responsibility
Your
when I
claims.
point out yours. No, they're not claims. When
No,
you
they're
tweet
claims.
Erica is
No.
too.
No, they're claims, Candace. It's not your opinion. You've been putting out claims.
Retarded, you go, that's just whatever, and then you move on.
That's a claim and I'm responsible for the claim.
Well, earlier when I brought it up, you said that it was tongue in cheek.
Yes, sure. That's me responding.
And you just said that what you said about Erica was tongue in cheek. Why? Like, this is so rules for thee and not for me.
To your criticism
Okay.
of the claim. That's all I'm doing here.
I was interested, and
I'm happy
believe
to
he
get
paid
into also the
$300,000
Patsy
for
stuff
this.
now, if you would like to.
well,
Your
that
team
was
has one more
supposed to
clip
be
they want
the
to
whole
play
The
for
one
7
more,
days
okay,
ago.
sorry.
They got one
They
more
had
clip.
to.
and
We
then
were
can
getting
go to
into the
Patsy.
Patsy stuff, and you stopped
Can
it, and
you
I was
dispute it?
explaining to
Yeah,
you. Oh,
easily.
they have one more clip. Okay, let's go.
Oh, can I dispute the ban?
They want to
I
hit the
did.
minimum of 4 clips you were saying with Erica. So
I just want to point out that they reviewed my appeal in 10 seconds. And because the clip had the word retarded in it, the AI automatically upheld the ban.
100%.
This is absurd.
You can keep nervous laughing all you want, Candace.
and this is the one you're saying from 7 days ago.
Are we getting the clip today?
Okay. While they're looking for that, do you want to continue?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
can I
yeah.
ask a question? I know it's been, or like, can I ask a question? Or are we
Not
just
really. I'm just gonna.
Okay.
We're gonna hold to the actual contract itself.
the contract does not say that you are allowed to just question me without me being able to respond to you
I've never said you
or
can't
have
respond.
a conversation.
You've been able to respond to every question I've asked you. And by the way, the other thing is like
Let's have it your way. I want it to look like
still happy
we've
to have
done
the
everything
debate.
Andrew wanted to, so that people can fairly assess this.
And I got to be real. Fucking Patrick Beck David was absolutely and utterly fucking useless. Absolutely fucking the most useless moderator I have ever seen in any debate. Like, legitimately, he did nothing but try to help Candace. He started having conversations with her. We had to listen to her go on a 20-minute fucking monologue because of questions Patrick was asking her.
Situation. So you have it your way. I
Totally
will not
fine.
ask a question.
Totally fair with me.
So are you good with her asking a question or
He
no?
said no.
Joe Rogan
Waiting
would have
for
been
the clip.
so much better.
Okay. So you want to wait for the clip first. Okay. You guys have it in the back?
My God, are we going to get to the fucking clip?
Okay, beautiful.
There we go. Jesus. Holy shit, people. You guys all run professional shows. The fuck is going on here?
You need the Jeopardy
Your team
thing.
told me they had it. So
That's what I heard. Okay, there we go.
come on, guys.
Did this crime. Okay? Because Lance
I can't
Twiggs
hear this. My
has
thing
his
went out. Just
DNA
tell me what
on
it
the
says out
towel.
there. It's fine.
Lance Twiggs has his DNA on the rifle.
Lance Twiggs
And to
has
be
his
clear,
DNA on the
Lance
right.
Twiggs'
Said this- proceeded
DNA
this 4 times,
was
but I don't
not
know why they feel
as
like they need
degraded
to-
as Tyler Robinson's DNA was on Tyler's rifle. It's Tyler's rifle.
Oh, you
but
also
Lance's
said, yeah, it's
DNA
not as degraded on the rifle.
Yeah, because I thought he was one of the things, but I've already that's what I mean when I say that. Like, it just seems like you're not actually here trying to engage, because even before you got to this, and I knew that you had some secret clip planned, I said to you when I rewatched the testimony, I realized that they didn't explicitly say Lance Twiggs. They said 5 other profiles were on it, and that his was the most degraded. So I hope your team feels fulfilled in playing that. Is there any more? I'm happy to play every clip that he has.